Did I tell you I saw Spectre over the weekend?
How did you see it?
How?
Yes.
I downloaded it.
You downloaded it?
Yeah.
Oh, how much did that cost then?
I rented it. I think it was about £4 or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, and how long can you keep it for?
48 hours.
And then what do you have to do? Send it back?
From the talk of the town to the whisper of the village.
Count to number 4, please.
Breaking global sports news and the answers to questions you never even thought to ask.
Has anyone got a spoon for my kiwi fruit?
The Two Mikes
Just like in that film.
on Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are of the Two Mikes. It's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
You're going to look very stupid at the end of tonight's
Why?
show. 3 out of 10 for Marilyn Monroe.
Marilyn Monroe's
That's going to be
a tough
your revenge,
subject.
isn't it?
Could be a tough subject, that.
Because I did so very well last week on Clint Eastwood.
Not a question of revenge at all.
You are now so put out by the
Not
fact
at
that
all.
your gerrymandering ways couldn't catch me out that you think now that you're going to double and redouble your gerrymandery tonight. You're not going to get away with it. I'm sorry,
Not at all.
pal.
It's not about whether you get 6 out of 10 or 7 out of 10 or 3 out of 10. I just like to make a little prediction and see if I get it right.
You've been influencing the people who write the questions, who I suspect largely is yourself,
Not
of course,
true.
because you bully the
independent, the independent quiz masters.
Yeah, who
as
are they?
are.
Who
well,
are they?
Well, I can't tell you who they are.
Anyway.
They are anonymous people.
Anyway, I can tell you've made a fool of yourself already because where is
How do you work that out?
Well, where's the CCTV that you're going to show
I'm
to
still
our
waiting
audience?
for permission to get a hold of it.
Oh,
because there are people looking at it and they're telling me that, they have to go through various processes.
And you're still claiming you've got CCTV of me cheating in last week's quiz.
Well, there's CCTV always on in there, so there is CCTV of you walking around the place and doing things, right? So then,
you seem to be rowing back a bit now.
No.
I thought you had CCTV of me cheating.
That's what I was
You haven't
told.
got that, have
That's
you?
what I was told.
No, you haven't got it. You haven't been told anything. You're an ignoramus. And
An ignoramus is a little bit harsh, I think.
Yeah, you are, because you are spouting information which simply doesn't exist,
Well,
okay?
I'm afraid the circumstantial evidence of what happened last week in the quiz, during the quiz, and the way that you behaved during the quiz was very, very different from any other time, apart from the times when you've actually admitted cheating before. So
I've never admitted cheating.
Yes, you have.
And there is no circumstantial evidence.
there is. You never said thinking aloud at any point. You knew things that you forgot a couple of days later.
I don't have to think
You had
aloud if
knowledge
I instantly know the answer.
but
because
you had knowledge of films that you've never seen.
because I'm so well read on my subject. Anyway, enough of that.
I don't think you should be dwelling on that. I think we should look forward to the quiz, which is later on, and there will be no question of revenge, no question of me trying to get back at you. I hope you do very well.
I will do very well. Now, I think half of the people who work here at Talk Sport must be going deaf,
Why?
really deaf. Well, most times when I come in the studio and put these headphones on,
Right.
the noise is, so offensive, it's eardrum bursting.
Deafening.
Okay? Oh, deafening.
Well, it may be that your headphones are just particularly more sensitive.
Well,
and
mine
so
are very expensive headphones, obviously, and they filter the noise or something like that. But
somebody actually posted a picture of the same headphones the other day. I think $25.99. I think.
Well, they bought a cheap imitation, obviously.
Really?
You can buy a Rolex watch for £10 on the
I
street
thought
corner
maybe
in New York.
I thought maybe they charge you extra for the faux leather bag.
No, not at all. Now, the point is that if any of our, fellow broadcasters here are turning the sound up too high, they are going to go deaf.
It's not a good thing.
No, it's not a good
It is
thing
not a
at
good
all.
thing. But you have a volume control. You can turn it down.
Oh, I do turn it down,
Right.
but I worry about the deafness that's going to...
Usually, funnily enough, when I come in to sit over there, before we start this show, it's normally too quiet, actually, and I have to turn it up.
Oh, OK. Well, that's another one. You see, what happens is you keep it too loud for too long, you go deaf, then you have to turn it down or it hurts your ears.
Well, that's what happened to Pete Townsend.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. And this is why I'm telling you. Blasting music through headphones, this is from a study, right, from mobile phones, is leaving more than 1 in 4 young people with serious hearing damage, which could lead to deafness, total deafness in later life.
But they've now fixed an awful lot of mobile phones, haven't they? There was some EU directive which said you can't actually turn it up beyond a certain
But this is headphones.
measure.
This is headphones.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but these headphones into like iPads and iPods and all kinds of stuff.
I mean, a lot of the ways that people listen to stuff. You can, I mean, if you're on a tube, for example, it's really hard to hear anything.
Yeah,
because the level won't go above a certain height.
Yeah, I don't think they've regulated the noise. They've just made the headphones better. Because in the old days, when you're on the tube, you used to hear everybody else's headphones because the noise wasn't contained into the headphones.
Right.
It wasn't good enough. But it says here, heightened sensitivity to loud noise, a sign that the nerves that transmit sounds to the brain have been permanently damaged, is on the increase. Researchers fear it signals a surge in deafness among young people, which could render them totally deaf by the age of 50.
Maybe what will happen is that the human ear will kind of, evolve in some way, so that
my human ear won't
becomes
evolve.
less sensitive or becomes more sensitive or something, or changes shape.
My human ear is fine.
Your human ear?
Yeah, Professor Larry Roberts.
Oh, yeah, where's he from?
He's from McMaster University in Canada. Canada. He says the level of sound exposure that are quite commonplace in our environment, particularly among youth, appear to be sufficient to produce hidden cochlear injuries. The cochlea is the inner ear.
Is that like beyond the eardrum then? Is that what you're talking about?
Cochlea's inner ear.
Yeah, okay.
It's the inner ear.
Where's this McMaster University?
It's in Canada.
Canada?
I've just told you.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
It's beyond the hammer, the anvil, and the other bone.
And the drum.
The drum,
Yeah.
that's right, yeah.
Okay.
There's a major public health challenge coming down the road in terms of difficulties with hearing, okay?
Yeah.
Also,
why are you so concerned about this? Is that why you... I mean, people often complain about the way that you shout when you're on this show.
No.
Why do you shout?
I don't shout. I just emphasise my words, and my diction is probably the greatest clarity of anybody who actually broadcasts in this country.
It could be.
People are never short of hearing what I'm saying. But I do fear that some of my colleagues are going stone deaf.
But there's no evidence
either
of that, really,
or they're
there?
more stupid than I thought they were.
Well, when you talk to them outside, it's not as if you have to shout at them or you have
no,
they
not
can't
at
hear
all.
anything like
not
that.
Not at all. But I'm telling you, it's something that people have got to watch, because if they don't, they'll have to take heed.
No, you've said in the past, I think, that you wear headphones or earphones occasionally when you're driving, don't you?
Who?
You.
No.
No?
No.
I thought you said you did.
No. Why would I do that?
I don't know.
I've got the most brilliant sound system inside my Merc. Why would I want to wear headphones?
I'm just pretty sure you said it once.
No. I think you've got the wrong end of the stick there,
we
mate.
talked about how dangerous it was that you couldn't hear the traffic, I seem to remember.
Well, you can't hear the traffic if your sound system's turned up to sizable levels inside a car.
No.
Anyway, look, I thought I'd tell you all that because...
Well, I mean, the Euros are starting tonight. So,
now,
I mean,
this is something else I'm going to talk to you about.
What?
There is, of course, there's things about. Now, I'm getting very upset that once again, women who regard themselves as superior to the rest of womanhood, i.e. women journalists on national newspapers who write the most unadulterated load of rubbish you can imagine, are now turning their sights on the wags.
Oh, yes.
I am a big supporter of the wags.
You always have been.
I think the wags are great people.
Where are the wags? Where are the wags?
Well, the point is that somebody called Jan Moir, or Muir, or how do you spell her name?
Moir, M-O-I-R,
You spell it M-O-I-R, I don't know how you pronounce it. Jan Moir. And these ladies usually put a picture in the paper of themselves from about 25 years ago, rather than currently, right? Attacking the wags again and saying, they're all going to disgrace Britain. They're going to go abroad. This woman seems to think that.
Well, they never have disgraced Britain, have they?
Never. No, I mean, she goes on about Baden-Baden. Well, did she go to Baden-Baden?
Probably not.
No, I mean, a lot of English journalists did, and there was no sense of disgrace or anything.
I don't remember that.
No, exactly. That was in Germany in 2006. But the point is, she goes banging on about, men of them seen staggering on high heels out of Liverpool's cricket boutique. The point is, most so-called wags, the expression came from wives and girlfriends, obviously. So we're talking about...
Do you know who came up with it? Who was the one that first said that particular acronym, WAGS?
I don't know. Who was it?
I don't know. I'm just asking you because I thought you might know.
No, I don't, but I'll find out. Okay. It will have arisen in one particular piece. But what really gets me is that if you look individually at the wife or girlfriend of most of the footballers who've gone to the World Cup, they are usually successful in their own right. And that is one reason why they end up with a footballer.
Are you sure about that?
Footballers like high achievers. Yeah, I'm absolutely certain of it.
Well, I'm
not
sure if you actually examined that would turn out to be the case.
Hang on. The Queen Wag of all time is Victoria Beckham.
Yeah.
One of the most successful girl singers.
She's not a wag. She's not a wag anymore, is she?
Of course she is, because Beckham's retired, but she was the original wag.
She was.
She's one of the richest women in the world.
Yeah.
She's a very successful businesswoman. She's been one of the greatest singers that Britain's ever produced.
Yeah.
And yet, for some unknown reason, she's a figure of derision from people like Jan Moir.
But Jan Moir does that for a living. That's her job. Her job is to write provocative columns in newspapers so that people get worked up about it.
Yeah, and it's my job as a reader of the things she writes to actually put her straight or contradict her or argue with it. You see, she spends her time slagging off wags. I mean, for instance, Peter Crouch's wife, Abby Clancy.
Yes.
Incredibly successful
He's not
model.
there either, is he?
No, he's not there, no. Incredibly.
Well, what about some of the ones that are there?
Well, Jamie Vardy's there.
Okay.
So they pick on Jamie Vardy's recently married wife, obviously.
They're always picking on her.
Used to be wife. They're always picking on her.
Yeah.
The point is, she's been a lingerie model. Well, I'm sorry, but if you've got a nice figure, and like I suspect Jan Moir, right?
Moir.
Yeah, and you want to use the assets that God gave you to become a lingerie model, why are you then subject to being ridiculed by other people who happen for a living to write words rather than give, great sort of visual pleasure to millions of people? I don't understand it.
Well, maybe it's a slow week and there's nothing much they could write about apart from that. Because it's a different case, isn't it, when they have, say, the Ryder Cup and they have the kind of the wags paraded out.
Yep.
you know, the night before the Ryder Cup starts, and it's all kind of supposedly much more sort of nice. And but they never really have a go at that, do they?
No, and they all have the same suit on. They sit there. They have no personality. They seem to have no individual opinions or anything. She has a go here against Carla Howe.
You're not attacking the wags from the golfing world, are you?
I'm not attacking them at all, no. She has a go here against Carla Howe, currently dating Liverpool and England player Nathaniel Clyne, whose idea of a party outfit is a leather bra and a tiny skirt. Well, that's what a lot of young women wear these days, Ms. Moi.
Yeah.
And so you should get used to it. And she goes on to say, like her twin sister Melissa, Carla is a Playboy model and has been a bunny girl. And the pair of them like posing together for the kind of, and she calls them softy, porny shots that players put up in their lockers. Yeah. That is utter rubbish.
Is it?
Yeah. Bunny girls.
Are they not bunny girls?
Well, bunny girls are not softy, porny people, are they? They are hostesses in clubs which are licensed by the authorities and provide a useful service in life. I get really upset. What I would say...
You've seen the time, though,
Yeah, but don't worry about time, because I've got to make this very good point. What I'd say is that Miss Moi, works for a publication which seems to specialise in hiring other female writers to write on the basis that they happen to be the wives of cabinet ministers. And if their husband wasn't a cabinet minister and therefore had a seat of power in this country, nobody would read one word of the drivel some of these people write. The only reason that they are supposed to have an opinion and worth listening to is because of their husband's success. That's not the case in most wags. Most wags are independently successful women.
I've never seen you so worked up about something.
Well, I get upset about this.
Why don't you just read a different paper?
What?
Why don't you just read a different paper?
I read every paper every day.
Oh, okay.
It's part of my job.
Thank you very much indeed. Mike Porky Parry is very upset. We're going to talk about Ronald Koeman coming up, and we're also, of course, going to be looking ahead to the Euros as well. This is TalkSport.
The Two Mikes, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
You can go your own way. Go your own way. You can call it another lonely day. You can go your
This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mikes. The Porky Quiz coming up a little bit later on. Lisa Daly's going to be on as well, telling everyone how to get through the Euros, just in case there's any kind of conflict. Because sometimes when football tournaments are on, you know, it's very difficult to kind of not row in the household. Because everybody wants to do something different. You know, it's unusual if you've got the whole family that want to do the same thing all the time.
I would have accepted that 20 years ago, but these days, every home has got at least 3 tellies.
That's true.
Right?
But it's not just about the home. I mean, sometimes, you know, somebody will want to go down to the pub and watch the game.
Yeah, well, that's all right.
Some people will be...
Get from under your wife's or your girlfriend's feet. That's all right. Get down the pub and all that.
Some people will be heading off to France.
Yeah,
I can't think
of a worse place to watch an England game than in a crowded pub, frankly.
Well, it depends, doesn't it? I mean, you remember Euro 96 when it was all very, very exciting.
Yes.
Everybody got into it and there was big screens everywhere. And that was actually quite a kind of a good feeling, I think.
Yeah, but that was at home, wasn't it? That was on home territory. So
but I presume they're going to do that again, aren't they? They'll put some big screens up, I guess.
I suppose so. Yeah. I suppose so. But, I mean, where, for instance, will you be watching the game on Saturday night?
Saturday night I'll be at home watching it.
Well, exactly. With your boys?
Yes.
Yeah, will they get into the spirit of things?
They might do. I mean, they're not massive. You're going to buy them a St George's outfit and all that? No, I don't think so.
I think you should.
If they'd like to wear a St George's outfit.
Yeah, they would. You know, the old Crusader.
I can get them something like that if they wish.
Well, this is an idea for me. You know, you clearly haven't got your fatherly instincts in gear.
Well, no, because my older son is not that keen on watching England because he thinks it's very boring.
Yeah, but I think you should tell him he should, actually, as a patriotic thing. What I'm saying is, you could turn up there this weekend with a couple of Crusader outfits.
I could.
The lads could run around in them.
Of course, he was born in Scotland as well, though. That's the other thing.
Oh, don't worry about that. Run around in the garden in the afternoon, waving their swords around, all that kind of stuff, and then the game comes on in evening.
Well, if you want to pick up a couple of those, you know, during the course of the day tomorrow and give them to me, that'd be a nice present.
They're not my children, they're yours.
Yeah, I know, but you're giving me advice about what I should give them.
Yeah, well, I just think you should. Now, listen, we just played
Last time you were put in charge of somebody's child, and you told us the other day, you nearly lost him.
I nearly did, yeah. That was Eve Pollard's. By the way, since we revealed to everybody that Eve Pollard has been part of our sort of professional past, in the sense that she was a very distinguished journalist in Fleet Street, worked in the same buildings that we did.
Yeah.
people are starting posting a lot of pictures of Ms.
They have,
Pollard.
yes.
And it only proves what we said. She was a very voluptuous and attractive woman, and still is.
Still is, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Would
Now
you like
then-
to hear a couple of tweets before you carry on?
Okay.
Here's one from Stoddard, who says, did Porky just call Victoria Beckham one of the greatest singers England has ever produced?
Okay.
He seems to think that's a bit unlikely.
Yeah, no, I will qualify that. She was a member of the most successful girl group the world's ever produced, and certainly this country's ever produced. They were called the Spice Girls. They sold more records than anybody else has ever done since.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, they have.
Not as many as One Direction, I don't think. Matt says
No, girl band. I said girl band, man.
okay.
You know, One Direction were men. Have you not
They
noticed?
were boys, a boy
Yeah,
band. And,
yeah.
of course, Porky would jump straight to the defence of a young, attractive lingerie model, says Matt.
Well, why not?
And Neil says, Porky, why are you shouting? Calm down, I'm going deaf.
No, don't worry about it. Now then, and by the way, just last thing on the wags.
Yeah.
You see a picture today of Nancy Delolio. Nancy Delolio went to a party and
Nancy
sort of
Delolio,
broke cover the other night for the first time in a long
Haven't
time.
seen her for a while, have we?
And she's still described as 54. I remember a few years back I was reading stories about 54-year-old Nancy Delolio, but
Yes.
I'm not questioning
Well,
that.
that would be rather ungentlemanly. wouldn't it, to
Rather
kind of,
ungentlemanly indeed.
Reveal her age.
But she turned up in a very bizarre sort of facial type thing. She was sticking
what's
things
going
on her face.
Yeah, what's going on with her eyebrows?
I don't know. She sort of stuck them on and all that. Look, she's a beguiling woman in my view.
She
Nancy
is.
Delolio.
She looks a bit... I mean, it doesn't look like her, actually, does it? I mean,
No.
it looks like something's happened to the shape of her face.
Yes, it does.
Not
I
even
totally
just the
agree.
makeup.
I totally agree. I couldn't tell that was Nancy until I read the caption and who it was. But I totally agree. I met her a few times actually
Yes.
when she was Sven's paramour, and
Was she charmed by you?
oh, she's delightful.
Was she charmed by you, I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Treated me with great respect. But
Did
I
you?
mean, she's a terribly sexy woman, you know what I mean? She exudes femininity and, you know, the mystery of the continental woman,
Yes,
you know,
the whole Italian
and
thing
all
going
that
on,
kind
yeah.
of stuff. Yeah. Wonderful woman. Anyway, listen, the reason we were playing Fleetwood Mac there is because Sainsbury's is the second biggest grocer in this country. Started selling vinyl in March
Yeah.
after 25 years of chucking records out of their stores, okay?
Yeah.
And this is all down to their new boss, who is a guy called Mr. Coop.
Did I not hear the other day that their sort of share price is sort of dipping a little bit, or their profits are dipping, or something's not going particularly well?
No.
I thought I did.
Not to my knowledge. I was looking at a report there. But anyway, the point
Yeah.
of the story is...
Yeah.
no, actually, you could be right here. Sainsbury's trading a period where like-for-like sales, including fuel, fell by 1% in the 12 weeks to June 4th, OK?
Yeah.
But he was very upbeat about performances in several sectors, one of them being the expanding sales, says Mike Coop, its chief executive, of vinyl records.
Yeah.
He says this is the next big thing.
There's a resurgence going on.
He says next thing. He also points out that they have their own charts, in-house chart Sainsbury's. Number one in the in-house chart
Is this just for vinyl?
This is just for vinyl,
Right.
just for vinyl. Fleetwood Mac's Rumours, top of the bestseller list at the moment, expected to stay there for some time.
Interesting.
Isn't that amazing?
Well, I've got a story to tell you about that, because last
yeah.
weekend, funnily enough, I was in
Yeah.
a different supermarket,
Okay.
which was not Sainsbury's, but which is also selling vinyl. And I was
Right.
kind of wandering about in that part of the shop. It's one of those superstores where
Yes.
you've got everything.
Yes.
And I just, on impulse, decided to buy a Fleetwood Mac album for no particular reason.
What,
I mean,
a
I've
vinyl
got-
one?
Yeah, a vinyl one.
How much was it?
It was 12 quid.
Oh, yeah.
I think.
Have you got something to play it on at home?
Yeah, of course I have. Yeah,
Oh,
otherwise I
okay.
wouldn't have bought it. I've been telling you this. I've got a modern turntable, which is something you can buy now for about 100 quid.
Multi-deck thing, is it?
No, it's not a multi-deck thing. It just plugs into a couple of speakers. And,
okay.
And it's terrific. And
Oh,
so I've been playing all
yeah.
my old albums, but this is the first one that I've actually bought.
Which
new.
album was it?
It was actually their greatest hits. They didn't have Rumours, otherwise I would have bought that. They
That's
didn't
excellent.
really have more than about a dozen albums.
That's fantastic.
They had a Queen album. They had a
Yeah.
Radiohead album. They had, I think, a Led Zeppelin album. They
Wow.
didn't have a massive amount of choice.
Wow, that's all going to come back.
And
you
I
see?
played it just the other day, in fact.
It's all called retro stuff, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
But what I most liked was, look at this picture of Fleetwood Mac. That was them at their absolute best when
Yes.
they were doing. They were the biggest band in the world. They were touring America, and every time they went to a new city, Stevie Nicks insisted on having her bedroom suite painted entirely pink before they got there.
In every hotel they went
In
to.
every hotel they went to.
Yeah.
Everything,
We should do that, shouldn't we?
Everything in the room had to be pink, including the piano.
Right.
She always had a piano in her suite because she
Right.
liked to, practice her songs and write new songs and all that kind of stuff, right?
Well, these guys
And
would
then-
take over a whole floor in a hotel, wouldn't
Yeah,
they?
but then when they left, the hotel would then charge them for reverting the suite she stayed in back to what it was before they got there.
But they made so much money they could do that anyway.
Everything was pink. The bed was pink.
Right.
The carpet was... They ripped out the carpet and put pink carpet in.
Well, Madonna has the same thing, I think. She wants it all white.
Really?
And she has, like, when she goes to into the backstage area, it all has to be a certain temperature, and they have to have certain flowers and all that kind of thing.
Well,
I don't think we do enough of that when we go and do
we're at Dingwalls, aren't we, tomorrow night?
Well, tonight, actually.
Tonight, sorry.
Don't
of course
turn up there tomorrow night, because it'll be too late.
Yeah.
You know, it'll be just one mic if you turn up. Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
A lot of people have been asking, actually, if there are tickets on the door, and there should be.
Well,
but I would just get in touch with Dingwalls to make sure in that case.
Well, fortunately, our technical supremo David was down there today and tells me that it is an expanding floor that we're playing on. We're performing on, and that they can expand the floor at the back further and further and further.
Yeah, they can.
Up. So I'm sure there will be seats available because they can put in as many seats as they want.
Right.
But we've already reached the maximum capacity of the tickets that were made available initially, but we'd love to see everybody there.
Absolutely.
And botheration may ensue.
It may well ensue.
Indeed, yeah.
Right. Here's another one from Richard, who says, Victoria Beckham, one of this country's best ever singers. What?
No, I've clarified that. I've said that she was one of the most successful members of a girl band, which is the most successful in the world.
I think you're absolutely right.
I accept that she was never a sort of Adele sort of quality singer, but I think she accepted that herself. Nevertheless, she used the start in life that she got in the Spice Girls to become a fashion icon of enormous proportions.
She did indeed. Now, I've got another question for you, the normal question that I've been asking you every night this week. When are Everton going to announce that they've signed Ronald Koeman as their new manager?
When the time is right.
Well, it was going to be yesterday. It was going to be the day before. This has been going on since Sunday.
Well, it doesn't matter.
I don't understand what's going on, but he has now signed, apparently, for one of the newspapers. He's going to write a column.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which is very strange timing, it seems to me.
Yeah, I think it's a bit odd as well. But anyway, that's up to the gentleman concerned.
Yeah.
Look, is it about time we said thank you for a little present or two that we've had delivered to us?
Yes, I think that would be a good thing.
As we were talking about tomorrow night, I want to say a big thank you to a follower of ours named Liz. Yeah. Lovely lady who was invited to the show yesterday. Unfortunately, had a slight medical thing. She had a bit of a slip or something and is recuperating. But nevertheless, has sent myself and yourself, I think, a beautiful
very nice
wall clock.
Yes.
And it's on a piece of vinyl.
Funny enough, it's on a piece of vinyl, which we've just been talking about.
That's right, yeah, but it's not a record vinyl.
No.
I've actually got one of those at home, believe it or not. I'll tell you about it in a minute.
Okay.
But the one that Liz sent us is a beautiful clock, and if you're looking at it from the top, the hands are designed to be a pickup on what you've just been talking about, a turntable.
Like the old sort of, what do you call it? The
arm.
arm.
The arm with the needle on it. You know,
and the stylus and all that.
And the image on the vinyl is a very famous Banksy picture of a little girl with a balloon being let go.
A balloon,
So
indeed.
I want to say a very big thank you.
Yes, thank you very much indeed.
It's very kind of you, and it was a lovely thought.
We'll go and put it on the wall.
The one I have at home, my sister bought me, is a genuine Beatles LP.
Oh, is it?
With the Beatles. And what they've done is,
Is it black vinyl?
It's black vinyl,
Right.
and the two hands move round. There's no numbers on it or anything like that. Your imagination tells you what time it
And
is.
presumably the hands are white.
The hands, I think, are gold.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, they're gold. Yeah.
Gold?
Against the black vinyl, and they look very...
Sounds a bit gauche, that.
Very impressive.
For me.
But anyway, that's the sort of thing. We'll never get away from that era of music, you see. Never, never. In 100 years' time, people will still be talking about that era because it was unsurpassed. Nothing will replace it.
In 100 years' time, it will be, I suppose, what? What year will it be in 100 years' time?
2116.
2116. We won't be here.
In the year 2525, if man is still alive...
Have you seen the time?
If woman can survive... Which group made that?
I don't know. Can you imagine what the time is now? Because it's getting very, very late.
Yeah, well, go on with it. Go on.
This is Talk Sport.
In the year 35, ain't gonna need to tell the truth, tell no lies. Everything you think, do, and say is in the pill you took today.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on, of course. The first live game in the Euros tonight, France against Romania. 8 o'clock kickoff, of course, live on Talk Sport, as is every other game. We'll be talking to Ross Dyer about that in a little while.
Yeah, do you like that song, by the way?
I do quite like it, yeah, but it sounds very dated, though, doesn't it?
Well,
don't you think? I mean, a lot of those songs from that era don't sound terribly dated, but that one kind of does.
Maybe, I don't know. I just think it's...
it's just the kind of sound they make, really.
It's a sort of legendary song because it's, it's explaining things that we don't know. You know what I mean?
Like what?
Well, what will the world be like in 25? Do you think there'll still be a world?
Well, of course there'll still be a world.
How do you know?
Why wouldn't there be a world? What do you mean it might get destroyed by
nuclear war?
Well, I don't think there's going to be a nuclear
Pestilence?
Pestilence, no, I don't think so.
A meteor hitting the
Do you
Earth?
remember there was some kind of study that came out where they were saying that there were 6 ways that somehow the world might end?
Yeah.
And I don't think any of them were particularly likely.
Do you know what I find amazing? When people talk about, that's what happened 100 million years ago.
Right.
Well, can you envisage the Earth being around for another 100 million years? Because I can't.
Well, it probably will be, unless some catastrophic thing happens in.
Well, that's what I mean.
In space. Well, the sun is meant to die before the Earth, isn't it? The sun is apparently going to die in some time in the future. In
Really?
which case, because it's a star, and stars always eventually die.
Burn out.
Yeah. And at that point, probably the Earth will die out.
So the sun
as
is
well.
like a sparkler, really, isn't it?
It is.
And
A
it's
very,
just
very
burning
large
down,
sparkler, yeah.
and eventually it'll just go out. And then,
well, you know how stars end up
Yeah.
becoming black holes, and they still have
that's
this
right,
kind of massive,
that's all a
gravity
bit,
around them.
all a bit too much for me.
Is it?
Yeah. Now, I'll tell you what I want to talk to you about. Butter.
Butter.
I love butter.
Yes.
Do you like butter?
Oh, I do like butter.
And for
yeah.
years I've been told, you kill yourself eating butter, except now
Now they're saying, excuse me. Now they're saying it's quite good.
Oh, yeah, now saying it's a magic food and all that kind of stuff, right? Now, I'll tell you what I've discovered. What I have discovered is very, very
What have you
interesting.
discovered?
I've discovered that there's going to be shortly in every town
Yeah.
a special shop that sells only butter.
Well, a butter shop.
Yeah, the butter shop,
Why
yeah.
would there be a butter shop?
Because 2 people who love butter just got together in North Yorkshire
Right.
and opened a shop called Butterbees in Malton in North Yorkshire.
So what, they're going to sell different kinds of butter?
The only
or
thing they
something?
sell is butter.
Yeah, but how many different kinds of butter are there?
Well, there's going to be like 80 or 100.
I suppose you can get garlic butter, you could have
Well, not
salted
only that,
butter.
but they're making their own butter now.
Yeah, but even so, you can't really make that many different kinds of butter, can you?
The butter making process.
Herb butter?
Hey?
Herb butter?
Yeah, all sorts of butter, yeah. But they, these 2 people, their names are Lucy and Steve, gave up their daytime jobs to start making a bit of butter at home, and then they started delivering it to like local delis and all that kind of stuff, and then they found a huge demand for it, and now they've started, their names are Lucy and Steve Bryden Kenny. It's a good name,
Kenny.
isn't it? Bridn Kenny. Left their jobs in March after spotting a gap in the market for artisan butter.
Yeah, but they're not going to spread it around, are they? If you
What do
know
you
what I
mean?
mean? Well, they're not going to suddenly go into every single town in Britain, which is what you just said might happen.
If they, I mean, do you know how Body Shop started?
Yes.
Started exactly the same way.
Yeah.
And the name of the lady...
Pret a Manger actually started that way as well.
Did it? Yeah. The name of the lady who started Body Shop was very famous.
Yeah, yeah, I can remember her name, but
And
not at this particular
she was
moment.
also a huge conservationist. And
That's
she used
right.
to travel to South America and find herbs in the Amazon jungle and turn them into cosmetics and that
Yes.
sort of stuff, right? And the
Anita
name's
Roddick.
Anita Roddick.
There you
Anita
go.
Roddick, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
And she started with one shop.
She's still around.
I think she's dead.
Yeah, I think
but
she
I
might
may
be.
be wrong.
Yeah.
But I think she is.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you a great story. Whichever town they started in, the Body Shop, right? They wanted to do it.
I think it started in London, didn't it?
I don't think it did.
No?
What,
And then it got sold, like
something
something like Covent Garden or something like that.
you may be right, but anyway, the point of the story is she and her husband decided to give up their daytime jobs and start their own little shop, and they're going to sell these things. But of course, in those days, the revolution for all things natural hadn't happened.
Right.
So they found a shop and they found the products, but they didn't have enough money to make it work and give up their job.
Right.
So there was a guy who was a local businessman, a small time businessman. He had the local bring and buy store or something. The local corner shop or something like that.
Right.
But he had money, and he gave them half the cost of starting their
Because
business.
they ended up selling it off to some big cosmetics company, I think, didn't they?
I think they did in the end, yeah.
Yeah.
But this chap who gave them half the money, and it was no more than £500, ended up with 50 million quid.
Right.
Because Body Shop grew so huge.
It did. And it still is. It's still all over the place.
It's
isn't
still all over the place and all that. This chap then decided...
I'm not sure it's going to be the same with butter, though.
Well, no, it could be. It could be. These things start on...
No, you go into the Body Shop and you can buy, stuff for the bath.
Yeah.
You can buy
Yeah.
shampoo. You can buy, all sorts of different cosmetics
Yes.
and nice-smelling things. But
Yes.
what are you going to get in a butter shop apart from butter? You go in and go, I'd like some butter, please.
Yeah,
and
that's
they
right.
go, yeah, we've got 4 different kinds of
That's
butter.
right, yeah.
And how much butter can you buy?
But
at one time?
they also sell butter making kits as well. They'll sell a load of
Isn't
those.
that cutting their own throat?
No.
Because
No.
basically people will go home, make their own butter, won't go back to the shop.
No, not really.
I think this
Not
is
really.
a bad idea.
But ananyway,
I think Lucy and Steve...
Getting back to Body Shop,
are
right.
not on the right thing here.
so this chap who...
Whose name escapes you?
Name escapes me, but he put in 500 quid, it was worth 50 million. So then, this chap was completely single-minded about what he was going to do. He didn't want publicity. Nobody hardly knew who he was.
He didn't take a stake in the company or anything? Or did he?
He owned half of it.
Oh, okay.
Because he gave them half the money to set up their first shop. And they gave him a certificate saying you own half of this, and he owned half of everything that's expanded. So they expand. This chap gets wealthier and wealthier. He just sold up. He was on his own. He left and bought a yacht and started sailing around the world. That's all he ever did.
And is that what he's still doing?
Well, this is the most interesting thing about it. You remember we had a mate in Fleet Street, a very tall guy who worked for the Daily Star and then became a reporter on the Daily Mail and the Mail on Sunday. And I can't remember.
You mentioned a few other papers that you worked for.
Eh?
Could you mention a few other papers that you worked
Well,
for?
no, they're the three I remember working for. Now,
Right.
now, can you remember who I'm talking about? A very London boy.
Yeah, I think I know who you mean.
Yeah, a very London boy. And in fact, we used to reminisce in pubs in Fleet Street how he started working on the something like the Streatham Journal. And used to get from A to B by walking down the canal paths and the back ways of...
Oh, no, I don't remember that bit.
No, it's somewhere in East London, actually, somewhere like Tower Hamlets.
So what happened to him, anyway?
Well, anyway, what happened to him was, one day his news editor came up to him and said, the editor demands that we find the guy who owns half of Body Shop, who is a recluse, and who's never spoken about it, and who sails around the world on his yacht. Go and find him.
Go and find him.
Go and find him.
And
yeah.
did he?
Yeah, he found him in the most bizarre way. So he spent a week trying to find this guy, and the only way he could do it was by finding out the sailing records of his yacht, because they knew the name of his yacht.
So they found the name of his yacht and the call number and all the rest of it.
All that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. Anyway, because he found the sailing records, he found this guy was actually coming back to this country the following week, by sheer coincidence. And he was going to, but the problem was he was going to moor in somewhere like Felixstowe. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Which is a huge port, you know, and lots of container traffic and all that kind of stuff in his yacht, So his job then was to, A, try and find the yacht, and then B, try and find the guy. So
did you have to go you would have thought that would have meant he could have gone around the world looking for him. Did he not do that?
Well, no, because he had the sailing records. One of the reasons why the editor said go and find this guy is he'd come across somebody who said, oh, well, he's back in Britain next week or something like that. So anyway, he... So, I wish I could remember this guy's name. He was a very tall chap. He was about 6'5".
Paul Henderson.
Paul Henderson.
Yeah.
That was Paul Henderson.
Okay.
Absolutely right. Well done.
Right.
So, anyway, he spends 3 days down in Suffolk, Norfolk, all around there, you know, looking for this guy. And he gets nowhere. And on the last day, when he decided, I just can't do anymore, I'm give it up, he checked into a place called The Crown in Westleton, which was a pub with a few rooms over it, because that's where they ended up.
Right.
And as he was checking in and said, you know, I've had a terrible time. I don't suppose you've got whatever the name of the guy was telling me. The guy said, oh, yeah, he stays here all the time.
Really?
And he was sitting in the bar.
Amazing.
And it was the most amazing thing. And the guy talked for the first time. He was amazed at his initiative, the guy coming in.
Right.
And then I remember the most bizarre thing about it was this chap was a very big chap, you know. He wasn't quite as tall as Paul. But he said, look, he said, I'm so impressed with you. Well done. He said, I'm not going to talk to anybody else again. He said, and just so you can prove to your editor that you have spoken to me, he said, because I know you guys and you sometimes make it all up. He said, you can have my coat. Because they'd taken a picture of him and he had a very bizarre...
Well, they would have had a picture of them together, presumably.
Yeah, a picture of them together. They had a very bizarre, like, you know, garish sort of coat, big checks or something like that. And he said, here, I can have my coat. And gave him his coat and that was it. And then the guy's never been seen again since.
And he's still going around the world.
Yeah,
presumably.
still going around the world in his yacht.
Yeah, how
amazing
bizarre.
story.
What a great story that would have been to cover as well. But I mean, I would have thought, if they'd given that story to you, you would have gone, well, the first thing I've got to do is get off to the Azores or somewhere.
Oh, yeah,
go
exactly,
down to Tahiti, where I've just found out the yacht might be.
Yeah,
and then
somebody
come back about a week later.
Somebody said, yes, but the yacht's actually heading back to Britain. Oh, yeah, but I'm going to find out, you know, some background detail. That's right.
Sometimes somebody else sails it for him.
Exactly.
That kind of thing.
Exactly, yeah.
TalkSport, we are the two Mikes. Lisa Daly's coming up in the next hour. She's going to be telling us, giving us a few tips, basically, on how to make sure that relationships don't run into any kind of problems while the Euros are on. You don't seem to think it's a massive problem, but I think...
No, I think it's a very good situation to examine, actually.
I think it is, because a lot of couples will have, you know, there will be tension.
Tensions,
no
definitely,
because whenever there's loads of football on, people sometimes want to watch all of it.
Yeah.
Just because it's live football, you know?
Funny, if we've got a point of tension tomorrow night.
Yes.
There's a young lady who works in our distribution unit, you know, where the DVDs go up. The two Mike's DVDs and the downloads
and the
T-shirts, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and she was coming tomorrow, and I'm afraid that her partner in life has decided they've got better things to do.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was looking forward to getting a few sherbets down her neck, a bit of collaboration, all that kind of stuff. But
she's not going to come now.
They've got other things to do, and that's fine and all that kind of stuff. But
that's the thing. I mean, if you don't agree on what you're going to do over the course of a weekend,
absolutely,
then that's where the problems begin.
Absolutely. I think he wanted to get something started very early Saturday morning, and felt that it might have been a distraction if she was out in bladderation terms Friday night, and so she's sort of withdrawn. But we'll see her again. I'm certain we will before the end of the year.
Absolutely.
By the way, I was going to say to you, we must do a hen and chicken show in December for Christmas.
Okay.
For our loyal fans in London.
Okay. Well, I'm very happy to go to hen chickens any time you like.
Okay.
Now, what we haven't mentioned is a story on one of the back pages this morning saying Stones turns down Barcelona. Have you seen that?
Yes, I've seen this. It's written by Pete Jensen in Madrid. England defender John Stones has turned down a move to Barcelona, who now believe he will join Pep Guardiola at Manchester City.
But how does that play with the statement Everton came out with saying, well, not a statement, but supposedly saying that he's not for sale?
Well, he's not for sale.
He's not going anywhere.
He's not for sale. They said this last year, nobody believed them. They're saying it again this year. And with Mr. Koeman now arriving.
Koeman?
Yeah, Mr. Koeman
now supposedly arriving.
No, arriving. Yeah, he's arriving.
Well, I mean, it's now been 6 days.
Well, I wouldn't worry about it, mate. These things are, long and drawn out. I see, by the way, that I'm sure other people have noticed Mr. Cohen might be writing things during the tournament anyway, which is a good thing because it means he's keeping his eye on the players.
Well, that's what I mean. He's found time to sign up with the newspaper, but he hasn't apparently found time to sign up with Everton yet.
Yes,
it's slightly odd.
Yes, absolutely. And I see that the Sun are talking about noisy neighbours.
Yes.
England stars face a crazy sleepless night ahead of the Euro 2016 out with Russia tomorrow. A massive UEFA cock-up means their Marseille hotel is next to an 80,000 fan park, which will not close until 1 a.m, with music, concert and 70s disco scheduled to start 11 p.m. 70s disco.
Why did they not? But why did they not know that was going to be the case?
Well, I don't know.
Or do you think there's a bit of jiggery-pokery going on, and the French have just kind of suddenly come up with this idea?
I was in Germany, as you know, in 2006, and when we got, I think it was Nuremberg, was the city centre, where the England team were in a hotel on the far side of the square.
Right.
And there was a concert all night in the square.
And did it affect them? Did they complain about it?
Yeah, it did.
Kept them awake all night?
It did. It was, and it wasn't deliberate. It was just that, well, where else are you going to put the concert in Nuremberg? When you're celebrating a game that's...
but surely if you're going to pick a hotel to stay in to be your base, you don't want to be anywhere near a fan zone, do you?
The strangest thing is it wasn't their base. It's just that you have to move a team much closer to the ground the night before the game, so they'd come from their base 200 miles away.
Oh, OK. Yeah. So that will be the problem for them if they can't sleep there.
Yes, exactly,
that isn't good.
Stimulating late-night sporting debate for long-distance lorry drivers, young mums,
What time do you call this? Coming on?
and students who've taken too many of those caffeine tablets.
The Two Mikes, Parry and Graham on Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on, of course. A couple of tweets for you, Mr. Parry. Here's one from William, who says, the Earth will be destroyed as the sun runs out of fuel. It will massively increase in size and swallow up Mercury, Venus and Earth. That's pretty bad. He doesn't say when that's going to happen.
I was going to say, if we could have a time scale on that, please, then we might not all go home tonight and be unable to sleep in our beds.
Marco says, our sun is middle-aged. I wonder if it's early middle-age. He says, and in about 4.5 billion years, we'll go supernova and consume the Earth in fire.
In 4.5 billion?
4.5 billion years. So
not a lot to worry about.
You'll be OK. MCFC says, first a cornflake shop and now a butter shop. If there's a gap in the market for planks, Porky should start his own shop.
Very
funny.
I mean, see, that's just offensive. That's not amusing, it's not funny, it's not witty, it's just offensive.
Well, a plank shop would be quite interesting.
But I mean, we're not talking about. Plank is a fairly acceptable term to describe somebody who's a bit of a half-baked. That's OK. I don't mind people using that word to describe me. I know it's untrue. It doesn't hurt me or offend me.
That's good.
But it's just a little, I don't know, lacking, I think, in grace, really, to make statements like that.
Or imagination. Here's another one from William. Porky, I'm surprised as a former FA high executive, TalkSport didn't send you to France for your expert analysis.
Well, I could have gone to France for expert analysis, not a problem there. It's just that I have to say that maybe my days of running round countries at tournaments having done 7 in 7 years, including, of course, the World Cup in France.
Because you would roam around, wouldn't you, with a microphone and talk to the fans?
Oh,
and
yeah,
talk to
absolutely,
people
all that kind of stuff, yeah. And, jumping on planes and driving overnight to new locations, all that kind of stuff, which is very enjoyable in the day.
Yeah.
But we have a great team of people out there to do all that sort of thing, so I'm very happy, thank you,
Absolutely.
to be part of it from our London studios.
And we can hold the fort here, of course, can't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Now, a couple of things to mention to you. Did I mention the other day that I had to buy some snorkels?
Snorkels?
Yeah.
What for?
Well, because I'm going on holiday later on in the summer, right? And I've discovered a new type of snorkel. I don't know whether you've ever heard of this, but you can now buy a full face mask, which looks a bit
Full
like
face snorkel?
Yeah, well, it's like a bit like, the...
well, anything that hides your face is a plus.
Well, it's not so much for people like me who don't mind snorkelling, but some people don't like snorkelling because they feel as if they're being sort of, suffocated. They can't get the breathing right.
I don't understand what a snorkel is.
It's basically like the mask that, like the hockey mask that Jason wears in those Friday the 13th films. And you can have this whole face mask.
A bit like
on.
Silence of the Lambs.
A little bit like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And it looks really weird. I'll show you a picture of it in a minute. And apparently, but it's 30 quid. And I didn't buy one.
Okay. Now, what is a snorkel for?
A snorkel is so that you can basically go beneath the surface of the water with your face and still breathe. So if you want to look at the various fish and
but hang
coral
on.
reefs and all that.
I know that if you want to lie face down in the water, then your snorkel gives you the ability to breathe
because
air.
you breathe through basically a pipe.
But I was in Australia once, and I saw a bloke with a snorkel using it like a source of oxygen under the water.
Right.
I don't know how he did that.
What do you mean, a source of oxygen?
Well, he would wear his snorkel and dive in, and then I saw him, and it was quite amazing, actually. This guy had a great affinity with water, and he would dive down to depths of about 20 or 30 feet and tickle the chins of big fish. Like, what am I talking about here? Like, big fish, whatever a big fish is.
Big fish, like a ray or something like that?
Yeah, maybe, something like that, or something like
big
that.
Flatfish.
No, big chubby fish.
No.
Almost like a big tuna fish.
A big tuna.
Something like that, you know what I mean?
You sure he wasn't wearing, like, scuba gear?
No, definitely not scuba gear. All he had on was a snorkel mask and a pair of flippers. And I was amazed how long he stayed underwater. And I thought, well, there must be a way of using this snorkel then to retain some form of oxygen in your body.
No, he presumably has the snorkel so he can look to see where the fish is, and then he just dives down and he has to hold his breath, because you can't use the snorkel underwater. It just doesn't work like that.
Well, he was using it underwater. That's the point I'm making.
Well, he couldn't have been.
No, he was.
Well, he would have just been sucking water into his lungs.
No, this is what I'm saying. I think he had some sort of specialist device, which allowed him to...
No, he wanted to have the snorkel so that he had it while he was in the sea, but when you go below the surface, you can't use it.
No,
it's not possible.
No, I think you can.
No, you can't.
Because I think what happens is you take in air... into your body, and then you dive down with your snorkel, and then if you let air out very slowly or something like that, you retain air within that kind of snorkel area.
No, you don't.
No, you do.
No, because the snorkel's full of water.
No, it's not full of water.
You have to hold your breath, basically.
No, it's not. If you emit air very slowly, then water can't rush into it because the air's coming out.
Are you saying you somehow store the air in the snorkel?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
That's ridiculous.
No, I'm sure you do.
No, you can't do
I'm
that.
sure you can.
Can't be done.
It can.
No.
It can, of course it can.
Absolutely can't.
If there was a cap on the end of the snorkel, then you would have a sufficient amount of air to last you 3 or 4 minutes underwater.
Was there a cap on the end of the snorkel?
Well, I don't know. It might have been. I don't know. I don't know.
Put caps on the end.
I think some snorkels have a sort of valve thing, right?
There was, in the old days when I was a kid, I used to have one that was like sort of a hockey stick shape, and it had a ping pong ball at the end of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You could actually suck the ping pong ball up, but that would hold the air in while you went underwater.
That's what I'm saying.
So they don't do that anymore.
Well, this guy might have had one of those then, mightn't he?
Well, did you see a ping pong ball at the end of it?
Well, the ping pong ball is inside the tube, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah, I would think so.
I
think he must have done because he stayed underwater for an extraordinarily long amount of time.
Well, it's like those deep divers, the ones that go all the way down, sort of hundreds of feet.
Yeah,
but
they're
trained to hold their breath for a very long time.
Yeah, but that's a sport.
Yeah,
they hold their breath for how long? 3 minutes?
Something ridiculous like that.
Unbelievable!
Yeah.
I couldn't do that.
Amazing.
I get terrified when I can't let the air out of my lungs. It's a sort of panic type thing, isn't it? Now, guess what happened on this day in 1692?
1692? No idea.
In America. Very notorious sort of part of the history of this thing.
Okay.
It was the start of the Salem witch trials in Massachusetts.
Okay, right.
Right, how about that?
In New England.
In New England.
Right.
The first woman of the 14 women and 5 men to be hanged after the Salem witch hunt and trial was executed in Salem, Massachusetts.
Okay. And what do you make of that?
Hey?
What do you make of it?
Well...
I mean, why are you telling me this?
Well, because it was a very notorious part of the history of America. See, I didn't even realise there were people around in America in 1692 in proper settlements, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, they'd all come from Europe, hadn't they?
Yeah, well,
basically.
Well, I mean, remember, old Columbus didn't even discover it until 1594, did he?
Yeah, well, that's about sort of 70,
that's 100 years later.
70 years earlier.
Yeah, I suppose so. But what I always found amazing was why in America is one of the biggest known brands of cigarettes Salem?
Salem. Well, I guess because Winston-Salem is the place that they're made, which is somewhere other than Salem up in Massachusetts. Yeah, it's Winston-Salem down in North Carolina.
But when the name Salem holds so much horror and terror in America's history, because it was a shocking... You know, I mean, they were burning people and hanging people who were innocent of anything except
but it's a long time
suspicion.
ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it's like, in this country, it would be like having a cigarette called Borstal.
Borstal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
You know, something
but it's
associated with
a different Salem.
rather unsavoury aspect of our history and all that kind of stuff.
But it's a different Salem, you know, because, you know, in America they've got, like, towns in almost every state with the same names. Well, it is. It's Winston-Salem in North Carolina.
I know, but the most famous Salem is the Salem witch trials, isn't it? Massachusetts.
Well,
you know
they're obviously less sensitive than you are
I find that a bit odd. Mind you, I wouldn't mind if there was a cigarette called what did I say?
Borstal.
Because I thought Borstal was a good thing. If we had Borstals around today, we'd be in much better shape. And our youth would be a more disciplined race.
Why do you want them disciplined?
Well, so that they don't go around doing things that are undisciplined, which fracture our society.
No, I see. Okay, right.
Okay,
excellent.
You with that?
Yeah, I am with that. But, you know, I'm not quite sure I agree with that kind of right-wing rhetoric that you come out with.
It's not right-wing rhetoric.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not. If young people know that the discipline and rule of law is what is the glue that keeps a civilised society together, then they have to be informed of that.
Sure. But we've got more people in prison now than we had back in the days when there was Borstal.
We should have more people in prison still.
There's not enough prisons.
Well, they should build some more then. Because the biggest deterrent to crime is depriving people of their liberty and locking them up. That's without a shadow of a doubt.
There doesn't seem to be any evidence for that, actually. But
well, there's plenty of evidence for it. We just don't lock them up for long enough, that's all.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, so we'll just build more prisons and keep them in there for much longer.
Yeah, I see old Jesse Jackson went to Muhammad Ali's... memorial.
Yes.
He's the most failed politician in history.
I know.
Literally. He ran as president about 10 times.
He did. And never really got very close to it.
No, amazing.
Yes. Right. Now, we've got lots coming up. Lisa Daly's joining us very shortly to help us with some relationship advice. This is, of course, Talk Sport.
Excellent.
This is Talk Sport. We are at the two mics. The Porky Quiz coming up a little bit later on in the show, of course, on Marilyn Monroe. While we were talking about Russia, because England take on Russia, of course, on Saturday in their opening game, Group B, 8 o'clock kickoff.
Yes.
Do you see that story this week about how they're kind of the Russians are trying to sort of revamp their revolutionary figures so that their younger people can kind of like them better? People
really? Which revolutionary figures are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about Lenin, basically, and Marx.
Well, why do you want to revamp that? They're guys who destroyed their country.
Well, yeah, but I think they're finding that they want their sort of younger people to have more affinity with these figures.
Really?
Because they're seen as these kind of rather austere, kind of serious men.
Yeah.
They're trying to kind of basically sex them up. So,
I find that remarkable.
So Lenin apparently is now being made into this kind of young, glamorous character where he's got a sort of a female ideologist on various... So they're putting him with a woman on various different posters to try and kind of make him look almost like a bit more of a sex symbol than he was, obviously, actually at the time.
Is that right?
Yeah. It's quite weird. Because they're obviously trying to kind of just reinvigorate the interest of Russia's young people in their history.
Well, I think in any country, young people should be told about the history of your country, how it developed, how it got there. Obviously, if there's horrendous chapters of history which are better consigned to the dustbin,
right?
Like Germany and things like that, then obviously you don't want to go over all that.
No, right.
But I tell you what's interesting, actually, because, of course, I keep in touch with my people in Russia. What Russia are facing at the moment...
Your people in Russia?
Yeah, well, everybody knows somebody in Russia these days, don't they?
I don't know anyone in Russia.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
Who?
Will?
I don't think he's still there, is he?
Yeah, I think he is, isn't he?
Well, last time I saw him, I told you he was with the owner of Heart of Midlothian.
Sure, but I'm sure I still see bylines from Will in Moscow and that sort of thing. something.
Yeah, he might be.
But anyway, the problem the Russians are facing at the moment is the brain drain, right?
Well, this may be part of why they're going to try and attract the kids to stay and not to go elsewhere.
OK, it could be. Let me tell you this. A lot of people prospered after President Putin first came to power in 2000. There was a surge in global oil prices. It propelled the economy to expand at the rate of about 7% a year, right? Which is very good. It wasn't as good as China's, but it was good.
Right.
But now the economy's in trouble and the Kremlin tightens the screws in all areas of life. And
is that partly because of the oil problems as well?
Yeah, it's partly because of the oil problems, and Russia haven't got as much money as they used to have.
Even Saudi Arabia are kind of claiming that they're running out of money. I know they won't ever run out of money, but because of the oil price, they can't make the same amount.
They're borrowing billions from banks all over the world for some unknown reason, because you're absolutely right, they must have vast reserves. But anyway, what I'm telling you is that they're clamping down on newspapers and all sorts of things in Russia now.
Well, they always have done. I mean, they've always been rather sort of one-sided about the way that they like to read about the way the government's being run.
That's right. But you see, the problem is that when there was a boom going on and President Putin was in charge, he decided to restore the best way to restore Russian dominance in the world was to start educating a lot more young people and make them scientists and all that kind of stuff. Well, the problem is they all got through university, but now the economy's tanked, they're all pushing off.
Because they'll get more money elsewhere, presumably.
According to last year's official statistics, 350,000 people emigrated from Russia, right? That is a tenfold rise over the number of people who left in 2011. And experts say the true figure is likely to be much higher because not everybody goes through official channels.
And these are not presumably just the super wealthy who are coming to live in parts of London and various other parts of Europe.
No, it's the middle classes who can find a better life elsewhere after having been educated in very fine universities in Russia.
Yeah.
The brain drain is significant and symptomatic, said Andrei Kolesnikov. Andrei Kolesnikov, not Kalishnikov. Right. Kolesnikov, who is a political analyst at the Carnegie Moscow Center think tank.
Maybe you should go the other way and take the brain drain, cancel out a bit of the brain drain and go and get some experience working over there.
Who knows? Yeah. Who knows? Vladimir Ashkurshikov, a former senior executive at Alpha Consortium, one of Russia's largest investment groups, says certain skills that were previously in high demand, right, like the ability to attract financing in international markets, that's to bring money into Russia, obviously, are not very relevant in today's environment because the economy, is not doing so well.
Right. So because they haven't got any money.
Exactly. So these career-related factors are exacerbated by the overall negative atmosphere in society, with dissenting voices being stifled and civil freedom suppressed.
Well, I think that was one of the reasons when they got rid of Fabio Capello, that they realised they were wasting so much money on a guy that wasn't really getting any results because, the new guy, Slutkin, is not getting paid anything because they haven't got the money to pay him, I think.
It's absolutely right. Yeah. But one of the other things, and we've touched on this before, is it's so hard to do business in Russia. Now, listen to this fact here. At the end of last year, Mr. Putin admitted that tens of thousands of businessmen are targeted annually by corrupt law enforcement officials. 200,000 criminal cases were launched involving businessmen in 2014, but only 15% resulted in convictions. However, 80% of defendants saw their businesses taken away from them. Right. Pressurised, robbed.
By the state.
By the state, yeah. So it's not a good work.
Well, everyone who does business there says that, everyone knows that there's a kind of a secret way of getting something done.
Of course.
Because that's the way it is in a lot of countries.
Yeah, no, but there's a certain way of working things in Russia, and unless you decide to subscribe to that particular pattern of events, you can't do business in Russia.
No.
It's as simple as that.
It's very, very difficult.
They have their way.
Yeah, I know. So what about these? How about this for a poster of Karl Marx? They've got him wearing a leather jacket with a couple of younger people off to the side. And they're basically
ridiculous,
They're basically trying to make out that he's had this kind of, glamorous image, and they're trying to have him... the poster says something like, like Arnold Schwarzenegger says, "I'll be back." And they're just trying to bring all of that back. And I wonder why they're trying to do it.
It's rubbish.
Yeah, it does seem like
rubbish. Imagine if somebody now started to portray Winston Churchill like that.
Yeah.
So instead of the picture of Winston Churchill in his bowler hat and his cane walking down Whitehall, at the height of the Second World War.
They had him on a skateboard or something.
Yeah, exactly. Supposing they, if they had him with tattoos on his arm or something.
Riding a Boris bike.
Riding a Boris bike, something like that. Utterly ridiculous. People's place in history is defined by their present and our past.
Indeed, but I suppose that's the other thing in schools that people complain about, that we're not, the kids are not taught enough about historical figures. And
I totally agree.
And maybe that's part of trying to get them to understand that actually they're not these kind of figures that are so far away that you can't get anywhere near them.
To try and portray, for instance, Lenin as cool, or Stalin as cool. You know, I really think it's crazy. I mean, next we'll have Mao Zedong portrayed as the father of benevolent China.
Well, he has been, hasn't he? I mean, in China,
he killed about 100 million.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, in China, he was described as like the father of the nation and all that kind of stuff.
Well, he wasn't to the middle classes who he decided to wipe out because
now,
they
what
could
does all
think
this
for
Russian
themselves.
stuff mean? Because they're going to hold the World Cup, aren't they, in a couple of years?
2018.
Does that mean they haven't got enough money to run that?
Well, who knows? I mean, it could be another upsurge in oil prices. It could save them. They could suddenly they get through the permafrost and find oil much cheaper to
the
explore.
Permafrost? What, you mean out in Siberia?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For years, you see...
You haven't been giving many people advice, actually, about the oil price, because normally on Ask Porky, somebody asks you a financial question. But
yes.
We haven't had too many of those lately.
Well, everybody knows what the oil price is.
Yeah, but what's it going to do, though, is the question.
Well, it's not going to do much while there's a surplus in the world.
It's not going to go down anymore, is it?
It's more likely to go down than up. There is a worldwide surplus of oil.
Yeah.
One of the reasons for that is fracking. The second reason is that people aren't using as much oil as they used to because they've got other methods now of getting around and that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And the third reason is that as technology goes on, places where you couldn't previously find oil are now easy to access. For instance, deeper oceans, permafrost in places like Siberia in the Arctic Circle, and the fact that you can go much cheaper than you ever could before, even on land, without destroying the land.
And there's too much of it being produced. Did you see that story the other day, by the way, about diesel and how I think it was on the front page of one of the broadcasts?
It's outrageous.
That they're now saying, because they realised that diesel at one point was more green than petrol.
Yes.
They've now decided that actually it has other pollutant problems.
Yeah.
And so they're going to put the price up, or they're going to put taxes on diesel after they convinced everyone to buy a diesel car.
Yeah, and guess whose fault it was?
They're now going to actually, charge us for the privilege.
Yeah, guess whose fault it was?
I think it was one of the Miller bands of Gordon Brown.
No, it was Gordon Brown. Transport Secretary Patrick McLaughlin, he's the current Transport Secretary, said Gordon Brown had made a huge mistake when, as Labour Chancellor, he slashed tax on diesel in 2001 to encourage motorists to switch from petrol cars, OK?
Yeah, but wasn't Ed Miliband the Environment Secretary or something like that at the time?
No, it was all down to Gordon Brown.
Yeah, but he was in charge of the government, wasn't he?
No, what Ed Miliband managed to do to make everybody pay more taxes in this country was introduce the climate change bill,
right,
which meant that we're all now paying about £10 a week more for our fuel than we would have done if he hadn't introduced the climate change bill.
And they came up with that ridiculous airline tax as well, didn't they?
Absolutely.
Which nobody else has in any other part of the world.
The footprint tax.
Yeah.
So if you got on an aircraft, you're burning pollutants into the air, so better charge you £10. Utter rubbish. And that makes us non-competitive. It means that the cost of energy in this country is the highest in Europe, even higher than France and Italy, who have much, much higher personal taxes than we do. And,
well, did I tell you when I rented
loss.
a car in America and I drove about, I think I said this to you the other day, about 150 miles or something like that.
Yeah.
And I used a very small amount of petrol in this car that I had because it was a brand new car.
Yeah.
But when I went to fill up, it was probably about maybe an eighth of a tank or something like that. $7.
$7.
That was all it cost.
Yeah, no.
I thought it was a mistake.
Yeah.
I was, I was expecting to go out hand the guy like at least 20.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
$7.
Well, it's like that, isn't it? Fuel was so cheap once in Kuwait and Iraq and Saudi Arabia that when a car ran out of petrol, it was often just left on the roadside, and people just
first time I went to Dubai, I saw that.
Just hitched a lift home and just got another car.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, it was about something like 50p a gallon, wasn't it? In some of these places.
Oh, it was much less. It was about 13, 14p a gallon. On the diesel, the experts are saying, we're seeing a rewriting of history here. Gordon Brown used diesel as a quick fix when he accepted there was a need to radically reduce carbon emissions. Now, ministers are reaching for a tax solution again in response to hysteria about pollution and diesels. Diesel drivers feel hunted. They are blamed for pollution. Some councils are imposing swinging parking charges on them. And now they face being hammered again on tax.
And is your new car diesel or petrol?
Diesel.
Oh, it is diesel. So you could be hit by this as well then?
Well, I'm hoping that this is going to come in over the next 18 months or 2 years, by which time I will have swapped my car for a petrol one at this rate.
Will you?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Definitely.
So you've got a car in mind. You can tell me about that later.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Coming up next, though, we're going to talk relationships with Lisa Daly, who's our relationships guru. This is Talk Sport.
Don't take your love away from me. Don't you leave my heart in misery. If you go, then I'll be blue. 'Cause breaking up is hard to do. Remember when
from Geordie Jeff here. He says, just to let you know, Venezuela have just beaten Uruguay 1-0 in the Copa America. Rondon of West Bromwich scored the only goal. So there you go. So there's still some interest from the Premier League over in the Copa America.
Of course.
There's another game coming up, actually, at 3 o'clock. So we'll keep you abreast of that one once it gets underway. Right now, though, we're going to talk to Lisa Daly, who is, of course, our relationship guru for this show. We've talked to her many times before. Lisa, very good morning to you.
Good morning to you. Glad to be back.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Big football tournament going on. Starts tonight at 8 o'clock our time. France take on Romania, and it goes for about a month. And myself and Mr. Parry, Lisa, were talking earlier about how sometimes sports tournaments, particularly when they go on for this kind of length of time, can cause a bit of friction in the old household relationships.
It's true. It's really true, and especially in the beginning when you have so many games going on, a couple of games a day, there's a lot going on. It feels like the television is always turned on to sports. If you have a person in the household that's really crazy for the game and somebody who has no interest in it at all, absolutely can cause a lot of tension in the relationship.
Well, it's one of those days on Saturday.
It only happens once a year, so let's suck it up and watch the game.
Well, it only happens. I mean, in this case, it's every 4 years,
really,
but I suppose every
2
years there's a World Cup, then there's a Euros. But I mean, for example, on Saturday you could start watching Albania, Switzerland at 2 o'clock. Then when that's over, you've got a little break until 5 o'clock, Wales, Slovakia, and then at 8 o'clock, England, Russia. So you could actually be sat slumped on the couch, basically for about 8 hours or so.
Yeah, but who has not binge watched, like Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad for that long?
Well, I mean, that could be another problem as well. If you don't particularly, I mean, if your partner loves Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad and you don't, that can be difficult. I mean, what's your kind of solution to all of this? I know that you're normally one of these people that just says everyone should chill out and let everybody else do what they want, but it's not always that simple.
It's not always that simple. If you're talking about something that is every single day for the entirety of your relationship, that, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, one person wants to spend their entire weekend watching sports and the other person can't think of anything that would be more horrifying, then you're going to have a problem. You don't really have a lot in common. But if you're talking about something that occurs once a year or once every couple of years for a couple of weeks, suck it up. This is something that your partner really enjoys doing. They should be able to have their own interests. And certainly if they're really into sports and you're really not, surely there's something else you could be doing at that time rather than sitting on the couch nagging your spouse to go do something else with you.
Yeah. I mean, Lisa, shouldn't
people... You have to let people be who they are.
Well, be who they are is fine. That's not a problem at all. But shouldn't people actually investigate a little bit about each other's interests before they decide to get married and then spend the next 30 years of penury trying to find a compromise in a situation where there is none?
Well, yes, it is always important before you get into a relationship with a person, especially before you get married to them, that you actually know what you're getting into. And of course, there are always some surprises that happen once you've been together for a little while. But in general, you should know if the person that you're marrying is a sports fanatic or loves to antique furniture or that you should know these things about the person. And if it's something that you can't stand, then maybe this is not the person for you. And that's a lot of times we try to change the person that we're with. We think if they only, do this other thing or they give up this thing that's important to them, that they'd be the perfect person. But the truth is people don't really change that much. They can change a little bit if they want to. But in general, people stay the same. They're the people they are. Yeah. And those recurring arguments that we talk about having in relationships, most of those, about 80% of what you fight about with your spouse, is unresolvable.
Yeah,
You're going to continue fighting about it forever. So your best bet is to just accept them for who they are and realize that you're not going to agree on which way the toilet paper goes and just live with it.
Yeah, but of course. I mean, the problem I think that the problem that will come up during this particular month, I think, is not so much whether you watch the football or don't watch the football, but it's when something clashes. For example, on Saturday night there might be something that's been planned for a while. Turns out that either the husband or the wife or whoever wants to watch the England game, and the other person wants to take them out somewhere to do something socially, which had already been sort of set in stone. I don't know, 6 months ago.
Right.
That's when there's a real problem.
Well, Sure, in that kind of situation, you got to talk it through and see if you can't make a compromise. I mean, sometimes you're going to be able to. Sometimes people are one person really wants to go to the event, the other person really wants to sit on the couch with a big bowl of popcorn, and maybe you take a friend to the event instead. Or maybe you think, wow, this is, it's my mother's 17th wedding, and it's really important to me that my spouse go. And if he can't see that, then, maybe he's not the right guy.
Yeah, I mean, Lisa, the biggest...
Or she's not the right girl.
The biggest problem in when people are married or if they live together or whatever, the biggest problem in allowing one of the partnership to go off and do something on their own without the other is the jealousy factor between people who think you will pick up somebody when you're, pursuing your other interest that's not me. That's always the great fear.
You've made a kind of career out of that, haven't you?
No, but that's the great fear, Lisa, isn't it?
That is a whole other can of worms. So if you say, I don't want to go to this thing with you, I want to stay home on the couch and I want to watch this game, but I also don't want you to go, that's really not fair. Yeah. And if you can't trust your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend to be out of your sight for 3 or 4 hours without, hooking up with somebody in the coat closet, then you have way bigger problems in your relationship.
It is difficult. But what about, for example, there'll be mostly guys, I'm not going to make a sexist comment here, but mostly guys going over to France to watch a football tournament. They'll be away for maybe a couple of weeks.
That's right.
Their spouse or their partner is at home. And as I say, this has been a very fertile hunting ground for somebody like my colleague here, Mr. Parry, over the years, because, that's when he moves in.
Oh, that's a bit unfair.
All the husbands are away, and Mr. Parry, just hanging out. That's the deal. Just scooping up the ladies.
Yeah, no, but it's usually ladies approaching me, not the other way around. They say, "Oh, well, he can't be bothered to stay at home with me," and you're nice, man. You take me out for dinner and buy me expensive wine. So what am I supposed to do?
Right. Well, take them out to dinner and buy an expensive wine, I suppose, or maybe find somebody who's single. I feel like that's a recurring theme in our segments.
Yeah.
I'm worried about you going after the married ladies. And the thing is, if you can't be left alone for a week or a couple of weeks, then, again, bigger problems in your relationship. Yeah, if you can't trust the person that you're with, or you can't be trusted for them to leave for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. But it's not a couple of weeks, Lisa. It's not a couple of weeks. I know a lady whose husband used to get furious when she went out for one night to go line dancing. I mean,
line dancing?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
but not with him.
No. She had a line dancing class, and her friend used to go the line dancing and all that. Right. I mean, I have to admit his fears were well founded because she eventually stopped going to line dancing classes and came out with me instead.
But she still told him she was going line dancing.
Yes, that's right, exactly, yeah. But you see, that to me just illustrates a massive amount of mistrust and distrust between couples who probably shouldn't have got married in the first place.
Right, well, and if he was right, if she really wasn't line dancing, if she was going out with other people, he had a reason to be suspicious. And maybe this isn't a guy who would normally be suspicious, but in this particular situation, he had some alarm bells going off, something's not quite right.
Yeah.
And, I mean, most times, if you feel uncomfortable, if you feel like something is going on, you know that this is either a pattern with you or it's not a pattern with you. So if you're a person who feels insecure in every single relationship that you have, it's probably not your partner, it's probably you. But if this is the first time or one of the first times that you've ever felt this way, that you usually feel secure, you usually feel confident in your partner being faithful to you, and all of a sudden you start feeling like things aren't right, that's something you should pay attention to. That's not necessarily insecurity or the fact that you don't want your partner to go line dancing. It's that something doesn't quite feel right, and you should pay attention to that.
And can it ever be fixed, though? I mean, have you ever witnessed that being fixed, or does it just always end up with, a bad scene?
I think if the relationship has started to go off track and maybe there's some danger of infidelity, I think if you catch it in time, go through therapy, talk about the things, then figure out and solve the problems that caused one person to feel like they needed to go outside the relationship. If you can do that, sure, there's a chance that can be repaired. But I think if someone cheats on you and you stay with them, their biggest danger for them is the first time they cheat, because they don't actually know how you're going to respond.
Yeah.
But once they cheat on you and you stay with them, well, then now they know there's going to be some crying and some screaming and some upset, maybe some dish throwing, but you're going to stay. So they now know there's no risk. They can continue to cheat on you at will. So obviously you want to avoid that.
Indeed you do.
Indeed. Lisa, thank you very much, as ever, for taking the time to talk to us. It is one of those periods, as we've just been discussing there, Mr. Parry, that, there will be a bit of tension in some households, but, hopefully not too much if you're listening. And it's,
I know there will be. I mean, at the end of this, there will be broken relationships, no doubt about it.
There will, yeah.
But, I mean, if a bloke goes off to the pub every night and gets tanked up on 6 or 8 pints of lager, well, he's not much of a husband anyway.
No.
And he's not much of a catch to a woman, and I wouldn't blame her for saying, is that all? Is that your life? I mean, the guy is so empty-headed that he finds that the only way that his life becomes worth something, bigging it up with his mates in a macho environment, swigging lager and shouting abuse at a screen when a footballer misses a goal. Yeah. Well, he's a piece of rubbish anyway.
Yes.
So, I don't blame the women for getting rid of them.
No, I think you're absolutely
People like
right.
that are goons.
Goons?
Yeah.
That's a good word. I haven't heard that one for a while. Now, we've got to look at what we're going to do for listography, which is going to come up sometime in the next hour. I've got lots and lots of suggestions here. Yeah. If you want to keep sending them in, please do.
Yes.
Hashtag listography.
Yeah.
3 sporting rules you'd like to change is one. 3 compliments you feel your counterpart deserves, which might be a little bit too nicey-nicey. Your 3 favourite sources. Your 3 favourite soap opera deaths, which I'm not sure I could do because I'm not an expert on soap operas.
No, I don't think that's much of one.
3 favourite chat-up lines, not particularly. Top 3 people you'd like to live as for 24 hours. The best 3 Christmas presents you received as a kid and why. 3-course meal you'd serve to each other. 3 things you'd say if your house was burning down.
Yes.
3 favourite hotels you've stayed in, or 3 hotels you'd like to stay in.
Yeah.
Which might be kind of not a bad one. I
quite like that. I quite like that. Yeah.
Should we go with that one?
Yeah, I like that one. Yes.
There's a load more I could read
But
out.
I think we should confine it to you have stayed in.
Yeah, 3 favourite hotels.
Because anybody can say I'd love to stay in that hotel. So it's got to be hotels we have stayed in.
Okay, so we'll do 3 hotels that we've stayed in, our favourites.
Excellent.
We'll do that coming up a little bit later on.
Yeah, great.
Excellent stuff. Now, loads of other stuff that we've got.
You just mentioned there food, didn't you? The 3 favourite meals you've had and all that kind of stuff. Now, I keep going on about this Airbnb thing.
Yes.
About having people in your house staying in your. It's got even worse. Guess what I've come across now? Come across a system now where actually you rent out your own dining room and you put the meal on for 4 people.
What? So you actually operate as a little restaurant?
You operate as a pop-up restaurant,
right?
And you go onto some particular site and you say, I'm serving spaghetti bolognese, in the dining room of my home at 19 Smith Street, West, Burrowford or something like that. And,
West Burrowford?
Yeah, or whatever.
Where's that?
Well, it's not. It's mythical. It's
Oh,
mythical.
okay.
If you wish to, buy at one of the places at the table, sign here or something like that.
So people then kind of go online and bid for the places or something? So they're paying money for this?
No, it's not. You charge 25 quid or something like that. It's fixed.
Isn't there some
cost.
Wouldn't there be some kind of catch with the Inland Revenue on that? Because you're
I don't know.
Wouldn't you need a licence for it as well? Because
I don't know.
You're effectively running a restaurant, aren't you?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the point is, it apparently works. I've seen pieces written from people who say, do this all the time. It's great, and it's a way of meeting people, and you can practice your recipes and all that. A tantalising trend,
I must say,
or a recipe for disaster.
I don't often agree with you on some of these things, but it does sound like a weird thing to do. I can't imagine going to somebody's house that I don't know, sit with people I don't know, to have a dinner that, I'm sort of taking a chance.
Well, yeah, mate. You can look at it on your tablet there. Yeah. It's called Wi-Fi Fo. So that's WE, and then capital FI, and then capital FO. Okay. Wi-Fi Fo. Right. And it's short for We Find Food.
Okay.
And it works in the same way as the TV series Come Dine With Me, where guests, eat dinner in an unfamiliar person's home.
Yeah.
But it's very much. That is well planned. That's planned weeks, if not months in advance.
Yeah.
This is just an instant. Oh, do you want to come and sit down in my dining room and eat my food?
Yeah. It's a very odd thing. But like I say, I mean, I'm sure that, for example, you would have all sorts of, health inspectors coming down on you saying, well, what gives you the right to sell food? What about, I mean, restaurant owners must not be too pleased about it either, because if you can basically sell food, I mean, do you sell them wine as well?
Well, it's the same thing about this Airbnb. Hotels can't be happy that somebody can get a room for a night at £40 in London, in a house in Maida Vale or something.
Yeah, but they're not really competing with them, are they?
Well, they are. If the person comes to London and he's staying in somebody's spare bedroom, not staying in a hotel, that's going to be a dent into
but it's not really the same experience, is it? I mean, if you're we're going to talk about our 3 favourite hotels. I mean, you wouldn't compare staying in somebody's house to staying in a hotel.
No, but if people have got the alternative and take it, they're depriving the hotel industry of money, aren't they? So have you found this site?
No, I haven't. I can't find it at all.
OK, it says it only launched 6 weeks ago, but there's already a very, very robust demand. And apparently what you do is you tell them what you're serving.
Right.
So
they don't get a choice.
Yeah, exactly. Not only do they not get a choice, but they don't come along not knowing what they're eating. Yeah. So you say, for instance, right, tonight in my house in, 23 Victoria Street, Upper Nottingford or something like that.
Another mythical place.
Yeah, I'm serving steak and chips. It will be served at 7:30. Right. It will cost £18.50.
Can you say you want it well done or not?
No.
So you just have to accept what you're given.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's how it works.
So
okay?
what, for example, if there was an accident and, say, for example, somebody made some shellfish that turned out to be bad and then they all sued each other? I mean, I can't see this working, honestly.
Well, we have an insurance policy for our business called personal liability insurance. So I would imagine that they would have to have that.
But they would have to have it. But but if there's no rule in place that says you now have to have this and you have to... I mean, I can't imagine that you're allowed to sell food without a licence to sell food. I mean, it's one thing to invite people around for dinner and not charge them. If you're going to charge them...
I think it's not... Because it's not a commercial operation, I suppose that if you say...
But it is, though. If they're paying you, it's a commercial operation.
Yeah, OK, you're absolutely right. But what I'm saying is, if you go online and say, I'm serving steak and chips, it costs £12.50 at 7:30, if you want to come along, you can. Yeah. Isn't that just freedom of choice?
No, because you're paying. You're making people pay for something, a service that you're giving them. So basically, you would need to have, a license to sell food. You might need to have a license. If you could, are you giving them the wine? If you're charging them for wine, then you need to get a license for that.
Yes.
You need to go to the local council. You need to get some kind of health certification so that you can, when you walk in the door, it's got 5 stars or 4 stars or 3 or whatever. There's all kinds. It seems to me there's all kinds of pitfalls.
By the way, this can be as cheap as £10. One particular offer.
Maybe you should do it.
No, I wouldn't do it.
It'd be like a great experiment, though. You could have people round for fish fingers and
I don't want
peas.
Don't want people in my house. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, no right person does want strangers in their house. That's a very, very weird concept indeed. But it says here that it can. One that was advertised recently was somebody advertised spaghetti bolognese 4-6 in the kitchen of my home where I've got a big table with 6 seats, £10. And 6 people turned up.
Sounds like a strange thing.
£60 in the pocket, and how much would it cost to make spaghetti bolognese for 6?
Probably no more than about £10.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I mean, I just think there must be, rules and regulations governing that kind of thing.
You'd have thought so.
Because, for example, I mean, if you go out on, if you went into the street and started, making spaghetti in the street and selling it to people as they walk past.
Yes.
After a while, the council guy would turn up and say, excuse me, have you got a licence to do this?
Yeah, well, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how they get around it. I suppose if it's all, sometimes you've been in a pub, obviously, and in the days when licensing laws were much more strict, we would have what we'd call a lock-in.
Yeah.
Now, the point is...
Which was technically illegal, right?
Well, it was illegal. It's illegal to sell beer after the end of the licensing hours you've been to sell it.
It's not illegal to give it away.
Well, of course it's not. That's exactly what we did. If you ever got raided, because we did. I've been in pubs that have been raided.
Have you?
Country pubs outside Chester. Suddenly, knock on the doors to the cops. All you ever said was, no, it's a private party. Yeah. They look at the till. The till's finished. It's been emptied. And what you did is, if you got away with it, nobody knocked on the door, you paid £10 on leaving. Yeah. It was as simple as that.
Right. Yeah, of course. And it still goes on now.
Of course it does.
Simon in West Burrowford says, thanks for giving out all my details. I'll now be inundated.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
He must be a mythical creature.
Exactly.
This is Talk Sport. Talk Sport, we are the two mics. Coming up in the next hour, it's going to be time for the Porky Quiz. The show seems to be racing forward again, doesn't it?
Indeed.
It's the end of another week, although we will be back on Sunday, will we not?
We will.
On the warm-up.
Warm up. Is that 11 till 1?
I think it's 11 till 1.
11
yeah,
till
short
1,
version,
okay.
because there's obviously some football on. There's a 2 o'clock Turkey against Croatia in Group D.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
So they'll be building up to that.
Looking forward to that. Have you ever been to the Scilly Isles?
I never have. I always kind of wanted to, though.
Yeah, I went there for a particularly horrible tragedy. A helicopter went down.
Oh, story,
but the point is, it's a very weird place. You know, it's so isolated and all that. And somebody sent me a book, and it's written by a copper who worked on the Scilly Isles.
Oh, okay.
And, you know...
how many... They probably don't have that many cops there, do they?
One.
Is that it?
One cop, yeah.
Really?
That's it, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it's a plum job. Everybody applies for it from Devon and Cornwall Police.
Because, I mean, if you like that sort of thing, it's ideal,
Oh,
isn't
absolutely, yeah. But the thing is, I just sort of flicked through it, and I found this one bit which I was appalled at. There's nothing worse than a happy policeman, you know what I mean, who turns out, you know...
Well, you would say that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, policeman the clown. And listen what he writes here. For light entertainment, you know, for entertainment, I like to board the tripper boats. These are ones that go between the islands, because it's made of about 5 or 6 islands, you know. And just before
Cops a few people over the head.
No. This guy thinks he's a clown.
No.
He's supposed to be a policeman.
Right.
You know, we train him as a policeman, we pay him as a policeman, but he decides he wants to be a clown.
But there's probably
right?
not much crime there, though, is there? So
There's no crime.
Yeah, so he has to
Never
find
been a
something
crime.
to keep himself busy.
Never been a crime. You know, somebody speeding in a car is
Well,
a
hang
crime.
on, you went down. Did you say you went down was for a crash?
No,
rather than an accident?
I'll tell you about it later, but it was a terrible... But anyway, this cop, you know, for light entertainment, I like to board the tripper boats just before they sail when everyone has already taken their seats. Then I revel in the little gasp of surprise and the darted, nervous glances among the tourists as a uniformed bobby, me, climbs aboard. They're all wondering whether my presence will have implications, and I play on this, by
wag.
shouting out to the boatman, just spot checking the passports and vaccinations, Joe.
Well, it must be a very sleepy little place if they're sort of unnerved by that.
Yeah. So if I pitch it right with a straight face, the more gullible tourists start to panic, turning on their partners and remonstrating with them, saying it was your job to find out about these details, and now they think they're going to get arrested.
Maybe you should keep an eye on some of the people that look uneasy, because maybe they're actually trying to enter the country illegally.
Exactly.
And you could actually find some of them and arrest them.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. He says, but of course, the Scillies is part of England, just as the Isle of Wight is, but it does have the feeling of being sort of abroad, you know? So I get away with this joke more often than you'd believe. Oh, laughing policeman.
Yes.
What a complete idiot.
I know. Well, it's almost as bad as your sort of happy-go-lucky train drivers. And
Yeah, it is,
yeah,
exactly. Honestly, if I was on the Scilly Isles and that copper got on and then started all that nonsense, I'd do one or two things. I'd either report him to the Chief Constable for being a...
And what would that be, the Chief Constable of where?
Devon and Cornwall, I think.
Would it be? Yeah,
I think so, yeah. Of being a complete idiot, right? Or I would, knock him off the boat or something like that.
Well, I don't think you should do that, because then you would finally have something to do.
Yeah,
You'd have to lock you up.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, I just...
But it's a bit like... Isle of Wight is bigger than the Scillies, and it's got more people on and stuff, but it's still, you get that sense that it's kind of slightly the land that time forgot. So the Scilly Isles, I can't imagine what that must be like. It must be
it's
very
weird.
sort of far removed.
I was there for a terrible story. What happened was a Sikorsky helicopter flying from Penzance to the Scilly Isles.
Because that's how everybody gets there, isn't it?
That's how they get there. That's how they get there.
Yeah.
Well, there's a ferry as well. But the pilot completely lost the level between the sea and the sky, and he flew straight into the sea. And everybody on board, 14 passengers, died.
Yeah.
And when they pulled the boat up...
Was it like a passenger helicopter?
Passenger helicopter.
Right.
When they pulled the boat up on a huge winch, which had to be brought from Holland, and the boat and the helicopter broke the surface, all 14 passengers were still sitting in their seats, strapped in.
Really?
And their eyes were open. It was amazing.
Spooky.
Yeah. They just died of the instant shock or something.
Yeah, I'd imagine so, or the impact or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, it's a bit of a gloomy story.
It was a bit gloomy,
I have to say, but never mind. It's all fascinating stuff.
Yeah, of course.
All human life is here on Talk Sport.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
The pressure's on now.
Relieve the itch. Talk Sport.
William has pointed out on Twitter at the Two Mics, the Scilly Isles was one of Harold Wilson's favourite places. It was always going down there.
He went there on holidays. There's a cottage there which has a sort of a plaque, to say he came here for his holidays every year.
I think it's one of those places that people, once they've gone there, they kind of go back all the time, because I think I lived next door to some people once who went there every sort of summer for a couple of weeks.
I felt the opposite. I felt, having gone there once, I'd never want to go back there again. It's so weird, it's such an insular community.
Right.
I mean, I don't think there's any cars on there because there's not long long enough road to drive a car on.
Really?
I think there's one car. I think there's one vehicle.
Well, presumably the policeman might have
Yeah,
a car.
exactly. I think he's got like a Range Rover or something, you know what I mean? Or something like that. But very weird, no.
Very remote. But some people like that. It's like some of those islands up in the north of Scotland.
Yeah, well, I'm determined to get to the Shetlands because I saw that fantastic TV programme last year called Shetlands.
Oh, yes.
And it was about
Which
the cops.
seems to be filmed mostly in Glasgow.
Well, yeah, a lot of it was in Glasgow because it was the Shetlands was used as the location for a bloke who was a major witness in a gangster's trial to go into the witness protection scheme.
Right.
And yet somebody, breached security or there was a traitor in the camp, found out where he was, and shot him. And so,
you think if you were going to put somebody in a witness protection program, you wouldn't send them to a remote island.
Exactly,
because
I totally
everybody
agree.
then would go, "Who's this guy that's just come into the
totally
community?"
agree.
And they'd have him all checked out, wouldn't they?
It's wooden trees, isn't it? You know what I mean? Can't see the wood for the trees. You'd
send him into the middle of a city or something where nobody would notice who he was.
You'd send him to Newcastle, wouldn't you, if he was a Scotsman? And there's lots of Scotsmen in Newcastle. And get him to, I don't know, just keep a low profile or something. I totally agree with you.
Exactly.
Now, what was I going to talk to you about? Yeah, I was going to talk to you about the fact that... what was it? I've forgotten now.
You've forgotten.
My head's gone.
Your head has gone. Kenny says this. He said, the world's gone mad. Porky's giving out marital advice on how to look after kids.
Yeah.
You couldn't make this up.
No, but I should, shouldn't I?
You can.
I mean, look...
on the basis that you've never been married and you haven't got any kids,
that doesn't
people
matter.
might not actually pay attention to you.
Yeah, does that mean then that, all the dozens, hundreds of football reporters over at France at the moment have no right to actually talk about football because they haven't played it? I don't think so.
It's not as if they give advice, though, is it?
Yeah.
I mean, they can criticise what somebody else has done,
yes,
because that's kind of their role, or to report on what has been done, but they wouldn't dream of going into a press conference and saying to Arsene Wenger,
yes,
by the way, this is what you should do next Saturday.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. Yeah. I was going to talk to you about, the selfie phenomenon.
Oh, yeah.
It actually is giving people now psychological problems, okay? Yeah, because if you start centering the world on yourself, which is exactly what a selfie is, then...
Well, there are other ways of doing that, though, without actually just taking pictures of yourself, aren't there?
Yeah, but taking pictures of yourself and sending them to other people is like the weirdest phenomenon. I mean, there's some people who I'm in touch with on Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't know why, I just follow them or something like that. And they send out 2 or 3 pictures of themselves a day.
Yeah.
And it's,
But the idea is not to show them necessarily, it's to show where they are, right? Like, here I am doing blah, whatever.
Well, yeah, but it's something like, do you like my new dress? And then it's, oh, look, I'm with my new best friend. And it's, what I'm saying is that the
You follow some strange people on Twitter if they do that.
Well, the raison d'etre for their existence is to glorify themselves and all they do, even though
are
they're
these
not
like celebrity types?
No, they're not even particularly talented at anything. You know what I mean?
Because I mean, celebrity types who do it obviously because they've got their Instagram account, they're raising their profile.
Yes.
For them that's probably worth a bit of money.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, for ordinary people to do it, just seems a bit mad.
Exactly. And if you read the report, it says. Now here, psychologists have said that once you delve deeper into the apparently anodyne and playful worlds of selfies, you find repeated and sometimes fatal instances of critical blackouts. Last year, more people were killed, taking selfies than in shark attacks.
What?
More
people killed
taking selfies than in shark attacks.
Really?
Now, this is not just about being self-obsessed. This is being self-obsessed to the point where you don't
see what's going on behind you.
You're unaware of the surroundings in which you're in. You're so obsessed about getting that picture of you. You might be on the edge of a cliff.
Right.
You might be standing in front.
That is very stupid, isn't it?
Yeah, you might be standing near a railway line or something like that, and you actually get killed.
Mind you, I suppose not that many people die as a result of shark attacks in any given year. I mean, it must be probably single figures, isn't it?
It says here there are plenty of instances of people forgetting there's a cliff behind them or getting squashed by trains. Yeah. And those aren't the only aberrations. People are taking smiling selfies of themselves in front of Auschwitz, right? In front of tramps who are dying in the street because they think it's funny. Yeah. Last summer, a British parliamentary candidate took a selfie on the Tunisian beach where 38 tourists had just been gunned down. Do you remember?
Yeah. I don't remember the picture, but I do.
Yeah, I remember him saying, the fatal location.
Just don't have any kind of filter for common sense, do they? I mean, that is absolutely and utterly ridiculous. And also now, whenever there's any kind of incident going on, there's footage being filmed by some people, other people taking pictures of what's going on, if it's a car crash or some kind of terrorist incident or something like that. I mean, there's now so much media being done by people who, who are not professionals at it.
No, exactly.
And,
no, I totally agree.
It's a strange... But you can't really stop it, can you?
Well, I don't suppose you can, unless the only thing that can stop people doing it is when they suffer themselves. Now, somebody called Elsa Goddard has written a book, and it's called Je selfie donc je suis.
Je selfie donc je suis.
I take selfies, therefore I am.
Oh, I see.
It's a play on the Shakespearean quote, OK?
I think therefore I am.
That's right, yeah. Now, she says the problem with selfies is it takes people back to a state of adolescent crisis.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
So far from giving us a stronger sense of our own identities, the 1 million plus selfies taken every day across the world, I thought it would be a lot more than that.
I would have thought so, yeah.
Yeah, the 1 million plus
that would be just in America, 1 million.
Yeah, a day across the world. The average millennial is expected to take 25,700 selfies. And, I see. The person who's very keen on selfies will take 25,700 selfies of themselves during their lifetime, OK?
That's ridiculous.
But you
don't really take selfies of yourself, do you?
I don't take any selfies of myself. I wouldn't.
No.
I mean, unless I'm trying to, illustrate a point or be humorous or something like that. But it says that taking selfies propagates insecurities and provokes precisely the kind of neurotic and self-questioning behaviour that characterises adolescence.
Yeah. Well, society now is very neurotic. I think through all levels of it, in all ages, it's a very neurotic place now, the world.
Yes, yeah.
People get very worried about stuff they shouldn't worry about. People kind of get offended by things they shouldn't be offended by. And, it is like everyone has become a kind of adolescent. It's true. Yeah,
no, it's true. And listen to this here. This is very true of some of the people that I see taking selfies. Selfies are often lamented as a symptom of narcissism.
Yes.
Indeed, last week's study, this is the study that was sent to me, found that people who take them tend to overestimate how good-looking they are.
Yes, that's probably true.
But that's not the major problem. Narcissism isn't always bad, says Ms. Goddard, who'd made this survey. She admits she's fond of taking the odd selfie herself. In fact, it has a useful side. It's necessary when we're infants who start out life mesmerised by our own image in the mirror. Small children are literally their own love interest. They find jubilation in pictures of themselves.
I can't remember that far back, but I don't remember being fascinated by looking at the mirror particularly.
No, I don't.
No?
I don't. But this is apparently where it goes all back to. Now, it says Kim Kardashian or Miley Cyrus, right, they take selfies.
Right.
But they are typical of people who are locked in the mirror image stage of their life and can't get out of it.
Yeah, but they're part of the reason why everybody else does it, because when Kim Kardashian takes a selfie, whether she's unclothed or clothed or whatever it is, millions and millions of people look at it. And so therefore she ends up making money out of it. And everybody else goes, oh, we should do that. But they're not celebrities, and so, there isn't really any point.
Yeah, now the other thing is, right, this is another amazing thing, is that when you take the selfie, right, and you send it out, you then, apparently these people sit in a state of panic for the next 10 minutes.
Not waiting for the reaction.
Waiting to see how many likes they get on the picture they've just sent out.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
It's amazing. And then if they don't get enough likes, they go into a depression. Right? And then they then become like adolescents again, whose friends have been horrible to them, and all this kind of stuff. It's amazing.
It is. Absolutely
amazing.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
I should just write you some correction here as well. It was René Descartes that said, I think, therefore I am, not William Shakespeare.
Who was it?
René Descartes.
René Descartes. He was a Frenchman, presumably.
He was a philosopher, yeah.
So how would that read in French?
Well, I think, therefore I am.
Yeah, je suis...
Cogito ergo sum, it is in Latin.
No, in French it would be je crois.
Je crois?
I think.
Right.
Toujours, je suis.
Well, toujours is always.
Yeah, well...
I think always.
Yeah.
Therefore.
I am.
Yeah. I don't think you got that right.
Well, what's therefore in French?
No, I don't know. We'll come back to you.
It's something like that.
We'll come back to you.
I'm sure.
Je pense donc je suis, it says here.
Je pense what?
From our resident Frenchman behind the glass. Je pense donc je suis. Oh. So donc must be therefore.
Yeah, it must be, yeah.
You remember that?
No, but I mean, I'll accept that.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
This is Talk Sport. Racking my brains. There's been quite a lot of decent hotels I've stayed in over the course of the various years.
Oh, exactly,
I've been alive and been working and stuff. So,
sure.
Do you want to go first with your first one?
Yeah, my first one, and I have mentioned this before, so I'll get that out the way, is the Shangri-La in Singapore, where they gave me headed notepaper in my suite. They didn't call it a room, suite. And it was a beautiful suite, had 2 bedrooms and a lounge, and the headed notepaper had my name on it. Mr. Michael Parry, Suite
and then
305.
you spent a great deal of time sending letters to people you didn't like.
To people all around the world who I didn't like,
Yeah.
just to...
I'm glad I didn't get one, actually, because I never got one.
No, exactly, just to impress them how I'd gone up in the world, and had my own personal suite in the Shangri-La in Singapore. And whilst I liked the hotel, I spent an awful lot of time in there. I was there for 5 days because I didn't like Singapore.
Right.
I thought Singapore was dull.
Yeah, it's a little limiting, isn't it?
It was antiseptic, dull. There weren't any funny people around. And
also the kind of architecture is very samey, isn't it?
It's very samey. If I went to a bar or restaurant, I found it very dull. Despite the fact there's supposed to be a very vibrant community out there who work in the financial world.
And there's lots of people who listen to our show, actually.
Nick Leeson style,
yes,
he was
exactly.
out there and all that kind of. I never found those people. I don't know where they went. And
there's like a bit around the river, which is sort of like a sort of, quite nice and unusual kind of kitschy kind of place. But most of the stuff that goes on is inside. It's like a sort of shopping mall.
But not only that, behaviour in bars and restaurants in Singapore is different to the rest of the world. There's a very polite society.
Right.
And they don't, there's no outrage. There's no sort of stuff gee whiz at. And the one thing I did, which was a waste of time, was go on their cable car across to an island, which is like a zoo or something. I think
really?
I came back. Don't know why I did it, but it was a waste of time. I enjoyed the hotel enormously. It's the best thing about Singapore.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say one of my favourites was a place called the Belage Hotel in West Hollywood.
Oh, yeah,
where
okay.
I went and stayed because I was chasing George Michael around.
Right.
And it was one of these fantastic kind of Hollywood...
West Hollywood's not a great district, is it?
Well, it's quite small.
Yeah, it is,
But, I mean, again, funny thing about LA is that, it's not... All of these little communities are not counted as part of the city.
Totally agree.
You've got central sort of Los Angeles, and if it was expanded all the way out to Santa Monica, which it more or less is, it would be the biggest city in the world, probably.
Yeah.
But, West Hollywood's quite a small place.
Yeah.
George Michael and the rest of the people from Wham were staying there. I was staying there with a photographer. And it was one of those sort of Hollywood-style hotels where you'd come down for breakfast and Danny DeVito would be sitting there.
Sure.
And I was living at the time in New York, and the room that I had was actually bigger than my apartment.
Yeah.
And it was very luxurious, and it was brilliant. And actually, they tried to get us thrown out, the old the George Michael lot.
Yeah.
They didn't like the fact that we were sort of shadowing them.
Right, okay.
And the manager came up to me and said, I'm afraid we're going to have to ask you to leave. And I said, well, why is that?
Yeah.
He said, well, we've had a complaint from one of the residents. And I said, well, what's the complaint? He said, well, the complaint is that you're following him around. I said, well, I'm not following him around in the hotel.
No.
I said, outside the hotel I can do what I like. And also, by the way, I work for an organisation which runs one of the big studios here.
Quite
Are you
right.
sure you want to throw me out?
Yeah.
And in the end, I got to stay.
Yeah, excellent.
But a lovely hotel.
Very good.
Beautiful.
Very good.
Second one for you?
Second, undoubtedly, would be the Hyatt on the Rocks in Sydney. Wonderful hotel. I mean, there are better hotels now in Sydney. I'm probably talking about 10 years ago, right? There are better hotels now in terms of luxury, 5-star, 6-star, taller, cocktail bars at the top. Don't care. The location of the Hyatt on the Rocks and the room I had, where you woke up in the morning, you reached to the left of your bed and pressed a button, and the curtains automatically opened. And the Sydney Harbour House, Sydney Opera House, I beg your pardon, was within touching distance, or it looked like it was in touching distance.
Was it on that same side then, or was
it was on the same side?
Right.
And the Sydney Opera House, one of the most iconic buildings in the world, when you think of its the architecture of its roof, was literally 100 yards away, just across a bit of water. Right. But it was magnificent and magnificent location.
It's a beautiful vista, though.
Yeah, a beautiful vista. And to the left, of course, is Sydney Harbour Bridge. Yeah. So, absolutely wonderful. Brilliant.
Great. Well, my second was actually in Scotland.
Right.
And it's Turnberry, which I'm afraid is
Turnberry,
now known as Trump Turnberry because it's been bought by Donald Trump.
Yes.
Which is a bit unfortunate because he wants to change the golf course. But, I mean, it's one of these old railway hotels. Yes. And it's just this long, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's this sort of long white building. Yeah. And it's up on a hill and you can see across the sea to Ireland. On a clear night, you can see Northern Ireland. Yes. And there's this beautiful rock called Ailsa Craig in the middle of the sea. Sure. Which is occupied only by puffins. And it's just a remarkably beautiful and kind of it's on the Ayrshire coast. If you go down the road to Girvan, which is not a great town, you see another
Girvan
part of
as opposed to Govan.
As opposed to Govan, but it's a bit like Govan in some parts, But it's just a really beautiful, serene kind of scene.
Sounds fantastic.
And they've also got, as far as I know, I'm sure it's not the only one, but one of the few saunas in the world has actually got a window to the outside, so you can sit in the sauna and look across the sea, which is quite nice.
Excellent, now, my third hotel, you're so spoilt for choice, aren't you? Because we and I have been lucky enough to have travelled the world for, some 25 years. And I can't even remember some of the hotels I stayed in, but I'm thinking of sort of the Essex House Hotel in Central Park South, but that's a regular feature.
Yeah, but
or
it can still be one of your favourite hotels.
Well, it can be, but I think I'd rather go for, just because of its iconicness, a hotel that I know you've been to as well, and that's Raffles.
Yes.
Now, that's also, unfortunately, in Singapore.
That's 2 in Singapore.
Yeah, exactly. But the fact that I went to Raffles and the fact that I saw the snooker table under which the tiger was crouching when they were playing snooker, and the fact that I had 13 Singapore slings in the bar there and all that.
Right.
The fact
Did you have any nuts? Because they give you nuts as well, don't they?
Yeah, nuts and the fact that 2 men in turbans were standing outside guarding it and all that kind of stuff. I've just got to nominate it.
Right.
And so to have 2 in the same town, a town which I don't even particularly
a town that you didn't like,
is odd. But they were fantastic hotels.
Okay,
no doubt about it.
Well, my one is the Boca Raton Hotel and Club, which is in Florida.
Okay,
I went down there for what you would call a facility trip one time, and it's this old kind of. A bit like I'm trying to think of. There's a sort of villa in one of the Godfather movies, which is similar to this, and it's sort of stucco, lots of flowers and stuff all around it. The thing that I loved about it the most was that you could go down to the beach where they had this kind of private beach, and you had a little flag that you could raise whenever you wanted a drink. So you basically lie there,
brilliant.
And you put the flag up, and the guy comes and asks you what you want.
Fantastic.
And about 2 minutes later, he's come back with a drink. So you can literally lie on this sunbed all
wonderful.
day. Now they'll bring you lunch. They'll bring, and I just love this idea of the flag, which I thought was brilliant.
Oh, it's brilliant. I mean, look, reel off another half dozen hotels. The Anse Chastanet in St Lucia was built into the side of a mountain.
Yeah.
Every room was a villa built into the side of a mountain.
Yeah.
The guy built it with his own bare hands.
Right.
He was a Dutch settler, and the pitons were in the distance. All that, so many brilliant hotels. I mean, country house hotels in England I love, but I can't remember the name of most of them.
Yeah, I could list about 5 just in Scotland.
Exactly, of course you could.
Gorgeous,
yeah. What's the one in Broadway which I love, and we stay there when we go to Cheltenham, but you can't always get in there.
Yeah, I know the place. Is it not the League of Arms?
Yeah, League of Arms. League of Arms in Broadway.
No, I've never actually stayed there.
Oh, I love it. There's a fantastic bar with high back chairs. You sit there, you feel like the squire of the county and all that kind of stuff. And the country house hotels I've been to were usually for like newspaper think tanks,
right.
And of course you used to get so bladderated you couldn't ever remember the name of them or where they were.
Well, I mean, I would say La Manga is another one where I don't know if you ever went down there, but we went down there for a think tank when I was with the Mirror, which was sort of a bit of golf, an awful lot of drinking, some other nefarious activity, and an occasion, one meeting I think it took 2 hours.
Exactly. I stayed in the Kaplinsky in Moscow,
right.
On the other side of the Moscow River to Red Square. Most magnificent hotel you've ever come across, 6-star and all that kind of stuff. Just brilliant, And if somebody said to me tomorrow, right, you've only got a few months to live now, but we'll take you to your 5 favourite hotels you've stayed in.
You'd have to go to Singapore twice.
Well, I wouldn't. I'd go once, wouldn't I? And then go somewhere else. I mean, there's Sir Francis Drake in San Francisco. Yeah. Absolutely fantastic hotel. Absolutely love it. And love, that road down to Union Square, and love San Francisco. It's just amazing.
Do you not miss travelling as much as you used to?
No, not really. Not really. Because
I think that's the other thing, is when we were both like reporters, you travel around so much.
Yeah, exactly.
That you would kind of, it's almost like you got rid of it all out of your system.
Well, I haven't been anywhere of consequence for about 5 years. Yeah. Seriously, and I haven't missed it at all. I mean, we've got a great team out in France. We're doing a great job, Talk Sport. But I'm not as desperate these days to be part of that sort of thing as I used to be when I was desperate to get out on the road and do all that. Because everybody has their role in life, as time moves on.
And also you've done it as well. So,
exactly.
There's a number of times that you can do it, a number of times that you can't.
Sure.
Here's one from Danny.
Yeah.
Has anyone died from a shark attack at the same time as taking a selfie? That might affect the stats. That's quite an interesting
I bet
question.
you it will happen.
Probably.
I bet you it will happen at some stage. Somebody standing in shallow water or something like that, and then suddenly, whoosh, legs are whipped away. What was that? Oh, it's a shark. Yeah, great white.
Dave says, why is Mr. Parry complaining about people who are self-obsessed? Pot and kettle spring to mind.
No, not at all.
He's suggesting you're self-obsessed.
No, not at all. I'm only aware of my role in life, and I'm not self-obsessed, honestly. Unless people are aware of themselves, you can't get on in life, but I'm certainly not self-obsessed.
William says that cable car from Singapore took you to Sentosa Island.
Oh, was that it?
The only good thing there was the musical Fountain show.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Did you see that?
No, don't remember seeing it.
No, okay. And one from Zufner says, I thought that was advertising. Facebook just provided the platform for atomisation and narcissism to flourish. Probably true, actually.
Maybe.
Facebook has kind of fueled all that.
Yeah.
Because, not only are you, telling people what you're up to all
Sure,
the time.
sure.
If you do that sort of thing.
Sure.
Everybody's got an opinion of what you're up to all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Quite strange. Now, I hope you're prepared for the Porky Quiz.
Indeed, I am.
It's Marilyn Monroe. It is, as ever, 10 questions. One answer is correct. Other answers are not correct.
Yes.
No multiple choice. And, of course, if you get one right, you will hear this sound. Get one wrong, you'll hear this sound.
I hate you, that is fascist!
Oh, right, okay, that's very good,
So that's the range of Marilyn Monroe's acting.
Let's get going.
Question number 1.
Yeah.
When did Marilyn Monroe meet the Queen?
Marilyn Monroe meet the Queen.
Yes.
Marilyn Monroe meet the Queen.
You can have a guess if you don't know.
I wasn't even sure she met the Queen. Now, I'll tell you what, it may have been... I can only think that it must have been when she serenaded the President of the United States, John F. Kennedy, which would have been in 1962 at Madison Square Garden. I'm thinking aloud.
You're thinking aloud, are you?
Thinking aloud. Now, let me think. She never came to this country, so that means she couldn't have met the Queen here. I'm going to have to stick with 1962 and JFK.
Yeah. Incorrect.
Oh, blimey.
She did come to this country.
Yeah.
And it was in 1956.
Right.
That's a film, The Prince and the Showgirl.
Yes, that's right.
And she met her then.
Yes.
Funnily enough.
Yes.
Question number 2.
So, sorry, my answer was right.
What?
My answer was right.
No.
What do you mean?
You said that she met her at JFK's thing at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, and you said correct.
No, I said incorrect.
No, you didn't.
I said incorrect.
Did you?
Yes.
I thought you said correct.
Can you not tell the difference between correct and incorrect?
So you're saying she was here in 1956?
She was.
And met the Queen when?
In 1956, when she was here. There is a film footage of it.
Yeah, but why did she meet her?
Well, she just happened to be in the same country, and there was some event, and she went along
What
to...
event?
I don't know.
I want to know more details about this.
Right.
I don't think this happened.
Well, I can show you the film of it, if you like.
I don't want to see the film, but I want to know the details.
You look very confused.
Yeah, I'm confused.
I know.
I thought you told me I got it right.
Quiz is a lot harder when you're not cheating. Question number 2. What was Marilyn's real name?
She was born as Norma Jean Mortensen, right?
Yeah.
And chose at a very early age to be called Norma Jean Baker.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll take that. She had
Right.
she had about 4 different names.
She
when
did,
was growing
yeah,
up, but
yeah.
I'll take Norma Jean Mortensen.
Right, thank you. And do you know how I remembered that after all these years?
How?
It was the same year as Stan Mortensen played in the Cup final with Stanley Matthews.
A shared name.
How about that?
All right, question number 3.
Yeah.
What was the nickname of Marilyn's baseball-playing husband?
He was Joe DiMaggio.
He was.
And he was the most famous ever baseball player who played for the New York Yankees, thinking aloud. And he was known as, and I'm sure I saw this in a caption in our favourite bar in New York, Costello's, as Diamond Joe.
Incorrect.
No!
He was known as the Yankee Clipper. Because, of course, he played for the Yankees.
But he was also known as Diamond Joe.
Well, not cool.
He was known as Diamond Joe. I saw it on the wall of Costello's.
Well, it doesn't matter what
Diamond
you saw on the
Joe.
wall of
Diamond being, of course, what you run round in a baseball match.
Baseball diamond.
Diamond.
That's not what I've got here, so I'm afraid it's not correct.
You know our mate Ivor up in Connecticut?
Yeah.
The local pub that we go to there is called the Yankee Clipper.
Is it? Well, there you go. Should have remembered that.
No, but that's not about Joe DiMaggio. It's about a boat that was built and launched in Connecticut.
I know. Yeah, the Yankee Clipper was his nickname. Question number 4.
Yeah.
Who was the male lead that starred opposite Marilyn Monroe in the thriller Niagara?
Niagara?
Yeah. As in the Falls.
Yes. Just thinking aloud here. The
Well, thinking aloud this week.
Male lead in that film Niagara, that was, without a shadow of a doubt, that was Clark Gable.
Incorrect.
No!
It was Joseph Cotton.
Who?
Joseph Cotton.
I've never heard of him.
Well, he was quite famous at the time.
Joe Cotton?
Joseph Cotton.
Not exactly Marlon Brando, is it?
Well, he wasn't Marlon Brando. No, he was Joseph Cotton.
Joe Cotton. Sounds like a half-bake.
Question number 5.
Yeah?
Which movie garnered Marilyn a Golden Globe?
A Golden Globe. She got a Golden Globe for I think she might have got a Golden Globe for more than one of her films, but no, she definitely got a Golden Globe for Some Like It Hot.
Correct.
Thank you. Woo, 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 woo. That was the one with old Tony Curtis.
That was.
And Jack Lemmon.
2 out of 5.
Woo, woo,
Question
woo.
number 6.
Yeah.
What was the occupation of Marilyn's father?
Marilyn's father. I tell you what, her mother worked in the studios in Hollywood because she was born in California, and her father was the father you're talking about.
Her father.
Right, just thinking aloud here, Let me see. He was I believe he was one of these, no, wait a minute. I think he was an insurance broker. No, he wasn't. I'm thinking aloud.
You're
Sorry.
thinking aloud?
Yeah, he was one of these guys who rode around on a push bike, which then turned into a lathe on which he sharpened knives. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've seen those, actually,
yeah.
but not for many years.
Yeah. That's the sort of job he did. But I think he did that part-time.
Okay.
I think, mostly speaking, he was definitely something to do with the film industry. Theatre. I would say he was a booking agent in Hollywood.
Incorrect.
No. What was he?
Nobody knows who her father is, so therefore nobody knows what you did.
Well, what a stupid question.
Well, it's not a stupid question.
Stupid and idiotic
You should
question.
know that her father was unknown.
But I might know who her father was through my research.
Well, nobody else does.
And I'm saying he was a knife sharpener.
She didn't know who her father was.
Well, what a ridiculous question.
I don't make the questions. All I do
Stupid,
is read them out.
idiotic trick question.
Question number 7.
Idiotic.
Where did Marilyn tie the knot with second husband Arthur Miller?
Arthur Miller. Well, you've asked me a very inaccurate question, I'm afraid.
How so?
Arthur Miller was her third husband. So,
really? Okay.
So that
Well, it just
question
says-
is void.
It says second husband.
No, she was married 3 times.
Oh, okay, well, where did she tie the knot with third husband Arthur Miller then?
Well, I'm sorry, I'm confused now because
Why are you
you asked me for her Arthur Miller, second husband.
Yeah.
He wasn't the second husband. I can't
Well,
answer that question.
Why can't you answer it with the third husband then?
No.
Just being obtuse now.
No. Question is null and void. I'm afraid. It's a completely.
So the quiz is going to be out of 9 then. You're just being stubborn now, aren't you?
All right, I'll tell you where they got married.
Why don't you tell us where they got married?
You're talking about Marilyn Monroe and Arthur Miller.
That's right.
They got married. Actually, funnily enough, this will have resonance with you because your sister lives there, Connecticut.
Incorrect.
No.
They got married in White Plains, New York.
White Plains. Well, that's near Connecticut.
It's not far from Connecticut.
Yeah.
But it's in a different state.
Very-
Question number
very
8.
close.
Can you name 2 brands that have used Marilyn in advertising since her death?
2 brands.
Yeah.
This is a very obtuse question.
Famous
again.
brands. Well, I mean, you will remember the adverts, I'm sure.
I wanna be the thank you, the thank you. I'm singing aloud. Singing aloud. Hang on.
Not like you.
I wanna be you. 2 brands. Right. Okay. Let me think this through. Wait a minute. I mean, this has nothing to do with Marilyn Monroe, by the way. This is about the advertising industry.
Well, it's about Marilyn Monroe.
I would say. Let me think. That would be. One's a shampoo. I know that. I'll get the brand in a minute, right? And the other one is. The other one is for clothing, right? So I would say... Now, you want one of the 2?
There's quite a lot of them, so I'm asking you for 2.
Oh,
if you only get 1, you probably get half a point.
Right, OK. Let me think now. One of them would be... I think she also advertised umbrellas, actually. So let me think.
Umbrellas?
Yeah, for some unknown reason. Right, I'm going to say one of them is L'Oreal, right? That's, because...
Because I'm worth it?
Because I'm worth it, that's right, yeah. Another one was... let me see. Another one was Vosine hair shampoo. Another one, because, I'll keep throwing the names out, right, was for... Let me see. I reckon it was Fairy Liquid, right? Okay, they're my 3 nominations.
What are the 3? Say them again.
L'Oreal, Vosine, Fairy Liquid.
Incorrect.
No.
You could have had Mercedes-Benz, funnily enough.
Mercedes-Benz.
Which you might remember. You could have had Chanel.
Chanel.
You could have had Absolute Vodka.
Absolute Vodka.
You could have had Max Factor.
Max Factor.
So I'm afraid that's not a point for you. Question number 9.
Right.
Who currently owns the famous Marilyn silkscreen created in 1962 by Andy Warhol?
Marilyn silkscreen. Marilyn silkscreen.
You know the one I'm talking about.
Yes, I know the one I'm talking about. Andy Warhol. That would be, let me see. It's a ridiculous question. It's not to do with Marilyn Monroe. It's to do with an image of her.
Images of her, though, isn't it?
Let me see. I think that's owned by one of the world's great art collectors. Also, I think it could be a pop star, actually. Just thinking aloud, I think it's a pop star. I think it could be. Let me think. I think it is Bono of U2.
Incorrect.
No.
It's owned by the Tate here in London.
By the Tate? Well, that's not a person.
I didn't say. I said who owns it.
Yeah, who?
Well,
who's a person?
Who doesn't have to be a person.
Yeah, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Otherwise, the question should have been what institution owns it.
Who owns it is the question.
No, it's not a who.
Who do you work for?
What?
Who do you work for?
Who do I work for?
Yeah.
Myself.
Right.
That's one person.
Okay.
Right.
What are you doing here then?
Sorry?
What are you doing here?
I'm contracting out my labour to talk sport.
Oh, okay. Who employ you?
Sorry?
Who employ you on a freelance basis?
No, with whom I have a contractual agreement. Simple
with
as
whom?
That.
With whom?
Well, whom is not who, is it? Shall we get on with the quiz?
I think we should.
Yeah.
I think you're just disappointingly
No.
upset. Question number 10.
Yeah.
Marilyn Monroe died on August the 5th, 1962 from a suspected drugs overdose. Where was her funeral held?
Funeral was held in California, in Los Angeles, in Westwood.
Correct.
Yes, hooray!
Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery, to be precise.
Exactly.
So you have a grand total of 3 out of 10.
Well, no,
just
because
as I predicted.
One of the questions was null and void because you asked me that it was the wrong question.
Well, no, you can't complain about a second or a third.
Another one was ridiculous about advertising. That's nothing to do with Marilyn Monroe. So, all in all, I'm very pleased, actually.
Well,
pleased.
I've got this note from Pete in Watford. He says, lots of thinking aloud during tonight's quiz, unlike the recent Clint Eastwood one. Hashtag well dodgy.
No, I don't think
that was the Porky Quiz. This is TalkSport.
Where is my mind? Where is my mind? Where is my mind?
Right, we've got some responses, please, to the quiz. Yeah, come on. I want to know what the audience thinks about the gerrymandering tactics.
OK, we'll have a listen to some of these. Si says, Mike Parry on form tonight in the quiz. Must have cheated last week. Brendan says, Marilyn Monroe met the Queen at the premiere for the film The Battle of River Plate at Leicester Square in October 1956. There is, as I say, there is footage of it. Maffey says, the question tonight is shocking. I'm with Porky tonight.
Thank you.
Here's one from Steve who says, not so easy, Mr. Parry, when you don't cheat. Hashtag guilty as charged.
Yeah.
Lee says, MG, you've got to give Porky a point for that. You might have been a knife sharpener. Go on, Porky, you're getting robbed.
Yeah.
Well, you can't give somebody the point for something that might be true.
It's such a silly question, you know.
Well, I don't write the
your father was.
Marcus says, you ask a question you don't know the answer to, then you ask one with incorrect information.
Exactly.
Hashtag gerrymandering.
Exactly.
Here's one from World who says, Porky's back to reality, didn't know that Monroe had visited the UK. What an expert without cheating.
Yeah.
Some like it dumb.
Yeah, I think I do not think so.
Duncan says, I guess Porky hasn't got the answers this week.
Andy says, trick questions are unethical. The scale of MG's gerrymandering is crazy. So that, you know, people have spotted you. Marcus says, worst gerrymandering in months. I'm surprised Porky didn't complain a lot more tonight. So I've been restrained.
Well, you did nothing but complain.
I've been restrained. It says here, Lee says, Vosine, Marilyn Monroe advertising a medicated shampoo. What's wrong with that? Why shouldn't she?
Well, because she didn't. Here's one from Stoddard.
Yeah.
It says, how does Porky not know who Joseph Cotton, the star of The Third Man, probably the most famous British film ever made, is? You know about The Third Man.
The only Cotton I knew from that era was Henry Cotton, who was a golfer.
How about Billy Cotton?
Billy Cotton? Oh, Billy Cotton? That's right, the band leader. Yeah. Now, there's one here. It says... you said correct, then changed to incorrect. Porky should have gotten half the mark for that one.
I think that people must have misheard. It was incorrect. It was definitely
Loads
incorrect.
of people have said, I heard you... I definitely... Well, John says,
they can say that,
I definitely
but I said
heard
incorrect.
correct for the first question.
Yeah, well, it wasn't correct, so it was
Yeah,
incorrect.
but you said correct.
Well, no, I said incorrect, but maybe I said it in such a way that it sounded like correct. I don't understand how people would mistake one for the other.
Yeah,
Lincoln says, Proof LePlanc cheated last week. Absolute clueless, back to his usual mindless
I don't think
thinking
so.
aloud. There was an awful lot of thinking aloud.
Yeah,
and that's one of the reasons people suspect you from last week of having some information, because you didn't think aloud at all last week, any of them.
Oh, George is going to be disappointed. He says, hi, guys, I'm visiting the Big Apple in July. Where is this Costello's bar located?
Yeah, it's not there.
It's not there anymore, mate.
It's gone.
Used to be on 46 between 2nd and 3rd.
Craig says tonight's quiz is proof Porky cheated last week. Back to his wrong, bumbling, thinking aloud answers.
Oh, no. Damn disgrace. Old MG said correct on question 1. Porky, if I were you, I would forfeit the quiz because MG is gerrymandering as usual. So many obvious signs of it. So there you go.
Well, I don't write the questions, and, I'm afraid if you get it wrong, you get it wrong. It's as simple as that, really.
Our friend Liz, who sent us those lovely clocks, thank you very much indeed, Liz, said... expectation is good, but I have to say I think it will be 3. That was ahead of the quiz, right? I hope Liz wasn't disappointed by my attempts to get them right, but of course with the obtuse and bent questions you gave me, it was difficult to maintain my brilliant level of achievement in last week's quiz.
Didn't you think it was a pretty good prediction of mine, though?
No, I don't.
Tomo does. It's a 3 out of 10 for the quiz. Well predicted.
No. Yeah, I've got an update from Liz here.
Yeah.
Porky, who was her father? How ridiculous. She said she wore Chanel when she went to bed. How did you get that wrong? You are no cheat. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, that remains to be seen, I suppose. But now we can move on from that. Steve says, how can the question about Marilyn's father be incorrect if you don't actually know who he was?
Yes.
Well, because you can't say what he did if nobody knows who he was.
Yeah, but that's a very good point. If nobody knows who he was, then you don't know that he was not a knife sharpener, do you?
No, but you can't give somebody a point on the basis of that.
Yeah, well, it's a stupid question then.
Well, it may be a stupid question.
It's an incomplete question.
I will pass on your dissatisfaction to the independent quizmaster.
I think that should be awarded to me on the basis that you asked me an incorrect question about the third marriage when it was...
But you should have known...
Second marriage when it was the third.
But you should have
known... The basis of the father's occupation.
You should have
I'm claiming another point.
You should have known that, that she didn't even know her own dad.
Yeah, well, I did on reflection.
On reflection.
It was one of a million facts in my head at the time. Yeah. Just didn't get it in the right order, that's all.
Yeah. Shall we have the first answer played back so that you can tell whether I said incorrect or correct?
I'm going to have to stick with 1962 and JFK.
JFK.
Yeah.
Incorrect.
Incorrect. Blimey.
I said incorrect.
No, it sounded like correct to a lot of
people.
Want to hear
it again?
Including me. No, I don't want to hear it again, thank you. No.
Incorrect. Incorrect.
No, that's been tampered. That's been tampered.
Oh, you now think that's been tampered?
Yeah, I do.
It's not surprising the Russians like you so much.
No,
You've got an awful lot of kind of potential for rewriting history.
No, I have not. Anyway, I find that all very upsetting. Right, now then, what's the day hold for us now?
Well, the day should hold for you a fair amount of sleep, I would hope, because we've got a live show to do tomorrow night, and you've had a very busy week, and I want to make sure you're on top form.
Yes.
So I don't want you being sort of, losing the plot halfway through the show due to a lack of enough rest.
That's right.
So I would recommend that you go home and go for a long sleep.
Some of our friends will be off to Marseille on a private jet, I think, later on today. We might have gone with them, had we not been doing the show in Dingwalls tonight. But we'll no doubt hear from them over the weekend.
Sure.
Which will be quite good.
Yeah.
And come back Sunday, so we'll keep in touch with that sort of thing.
All right.
I think amongst them is old Harry.
Harry Redknapp.
Harry Redknapp,
yes, I think that's probably true.
Yeah, OK.
So what are you going to do? Are you going to get some rest?
Well,
you're going to leave now. You could get home. You could probably sleep for a few hours.
Well, no, you see, I probably won't, because when I get home, it'll be light, OK? And I like the light.
Can you not
sleep?
No,
I can't sleep in the light, no.
Well, then you're not going to sleep before we get to Dingwalls.
Well, I don't need any. I've got work to get on with. I've got a lot of paperwork to do.
You need some sleep.
Well, I'll sort things out, don't worry. I'll be in top form by the time I see you.
OK.
I'll meet you up in Camden Town around about 4:30.
Something like that.
How's that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and I'll be in better shape than you, believe me.
Well, you like to tell people where we're going to meet? So they could come along?
No, thank you.
OK.
No.
Right. Then you want to give away any more details from the company bank account?
No. It's not that I don't want to see our followers and our fans and our future spectators.
Right.
Future spectators.
Future spectators.
I mean, the audience tonight. It's just that we have a bit of pre-planning to do for the show, and we need a bit of space. Yeah, you agree with that?
Right. So why did you tell everybody where we're going?
Well, because Dingwalls is in Camden Town. Also said, well, see you up in Camden Town. So that's where Dingwalls is.
It is.
It could be anywhere in Camden Town.
But there might be people now going to be hanging around at 4:30 looking for you.
Well, we'll be at Dingwalls. What time does the show start?
7:30.
We'll be at Dingwalls at 6:30, I would imagine.
Why would you say that?
I don't know.
You're giving away too much information.
Don't worry about it. You keep
all this week. You are basically the leaking ship.
No, you keep
details.
prodding me, and I keep having to respond. Just shut your mouth.
Well, I can't shut my mouth because we're doing a radio show together.
Say, shut your mouth.
Now, I suppose we could ask you.
That was Shaft, by the way.
Hey,
that was the song Shaft.
Shaft.
Remember the film Shaft?
The theme from Shaft.
Shaft is the man who does shut your mouth. Yeah, I remember that very well. Yeah, I do, yeah.
Have you seen the film?
Yeah, I've seen the film,
Have
yeah.
you?
It's all right. Richard Roundtree, wasn't
That's
it?
right, yeah.
Yeah, it was all right.
Blimey, that's only the second film you ever admitted to seeing.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't a great film, and it was a one-off. They never did a follow-up because it wasn't that good.
I think they did a second Shaft.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I didn't think they did.
I think they did.
Yeah, I think they knew.
Now, France-Romania coming up tonight. Do you want to give us a score prediction for that?
France-Romania tonight will be 3-1 to France.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, correct. Very high-scoring game, that.
Yeah, well, it will be, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Kick off with a bit of a...
And we won't be on the air again
swinging off
before England play, so what do you think is going to happen in that game? England-Russia.
No, we won't be on the air again before then.
No, we won't. That's what I said. Saturday night.
Oh, I see. England-Russia.
Why
Right.
do you keep thinking I'm saying the complete opposite of what I've actually said?
Okay,
Is there some kind of... there might be some kind of thing that you're suffering from.
No, I'm
where
hoping...
you reverse everything that's being said.
I'm hoping very much England win 2-1. I just hope it's not a 2-2 draw. That's what I very much hope.
Okay. Right, this is Talk Sport. Porky is still unhappy about the quiz, but there we go. You can make up for it next week. Talk Sport, we are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. We are going to be on the warm-up as well on Sunday from 11 to 1 after the England game and, of course, before the Turkey-Croatia game and before the Northern Ireland game as well and the Germany-Ukraine game. So there's an awful lot of football on Talk Sport coming up over the weekend.
Oh, it was bound to be.
Extraordinary. Shaft in Africa, says Jeff, was the sequel to Shaft.
What was it called?
Shaft in Africa.
Shaft in Africa?
Shaft in Africa, yeah.
What, you mean that was the title of the film?
That was the title of the film.
Well, I never saw that.
Right, well, that was the second film.
Was it? Yeah, I never saw that.
And then I've got one here from someone who says it's Samuel L. Jackson. Johnny says the newer Shaft was excellent with Samuel L. Jackson, so they must have remade it as well.
Yeah, they must have done. Samuel L. Jackson's a great actor.
Yes,
you know?
he is.
I've met him, haven't I?
Have you met Samuel L. Jackson?
Didn't we meet him in a hotel in Soho?
No.
I think we did.
No.
Yes, we did.
Not you and I didn't, no.
Who is Samuel L. Jackson?
He's an actor.
Yeah, was he in the Shawshank Redemption?
No.
Right, well, that's...
He was in Pulp Fiction, though.
Pulp Fiction.
Have you seen Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, we've met him. We met him.
When?
We met him in a hotel in Soho.
No, we didn't.
We did.
No, I wasn't.
Definitely.
Well, I wasn't with you.
I've met him.
Well, you might have met him.
I've definitely met him.
He's very tall.
He's a very tall guy and very
charming.
eloquent. Yeah, I've met him. I've definitely met him.
He's been in loads of films.
Yeah, he's been in loads of films. Yeah, wasn't he in Men in Black?
No.
Wasn't he?
No, he wasn't in that.
I thought he was. No.
But I'll tell you who else. We met Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell,
right? And Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
Those were the two guys.
I met Samuel L. Jackson, definitely.
He's big. I wanted to meet him because I was hoping to play golf with him one time. He's a big golfer.
Oh, yeah.
And they have this kind of Pro-Am tournament at St Andrews every year.
Yes.
And I was I was meant to get into it one year, but in the end they cancelled at the last minute.
Well, of course they did. They weren't a fat slob like you in their golf course, did they?
Well, actually, my golfing prowess
greens while walking on them.
Well, you and I can have a golf tournament any time you like.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You play off the ladies' tees with your little short clubs and see if you can actually hit it straight.
Or
we can just go to drive. We can go to a driving range if you want. See how far you can hit it.
Yeah, I could do that. Right, okay. So, situation is, I'll see you later.
Yeah.
I will sort out all the business affairs that need to be sorted out before we actually get on stage.
What, you mean you've got paperwork to do?
Yeah, of course I have, yeah.
What sort of paperwork?
These things just don't happen by miracle, you know what I mean? We don't turn up at theatres and they suddenly say, oh, here's the two mics, you know, why don't we just get a stage?
No, there's an awful lot of work that goes into it beforehand.
Yeah, of course it is, yeah. The general response from the audience, by the way, to the quiz...
Oh, look, I've got you interviewing Samuel L. Jackson.
Well, there you go. Where did that come from?
It was just found for you by our very efficient producer. You're asking about Everton.
Yeah, so I did interview him.
Well, you've interviewed him, but the man sitting next to you holding the microphone appears to be Andy Townsend.
Oh, well, there you go then, see. It was with Andy, yeah.
So you're already losing it, aren't you?
No,
you're losing it.
I'm losing it.
I'm Andy Townsend.
I told you
Andy Townsend's a former professional footballer.
Yes.
Used to be the captain of Ireland.
Yes.
I bet you didn't give Ireland such a hard time when he was playing for him.
Well, when he's playing for them, they're quite a good team.
No,
Jack Charlton was their manager, and they seem to know what they were doing. But I'm telling you that to get a 2-year extension to...
Don't have another go at Martin O'Neill.
Well,
every day this week you've done two things, right? You've had a go at Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane, and you've told me in the next 24 hours Mr. Koeman is going to be announced as the new manager of Everton.
Yes.
You've said both of those things every single day this week.
Well, I'll tell you something else as well. Ireland played their first game against Sweden, right?
Yeah.
If they don't get a point there, they're going to come home from this tournament pointless. They're going to be one of the 8 teams who don't get through to the next round. And actually, it's a tournament which it's more difficult to get knocked out in the group stages than it is to get through. So, that's not much of an achievement. Why would you give a man like that a 2-year extension to his contract?
Because you don't know the results yet.
Well,
They might come top of the group. You never know.
I think most of us know the results.
Well, you don't know the results. You're about the worst predictor of football I've ever known. Johnny says the newer Shaft was excellent with Samuel L. Jackson, so they must have remade it as well.
They must have done. Samuel L. Jackson's a great actor.
Yes, he is.
I've met him, haven't I?
Have you met Samuel L. Jackson?
Didn't we meet him in a hotel in Soho?
No.
I think we did.
No.
Yes, we did.
Not you and I didn't, no.
Who is Samuel L. Jackson?